You left it somewhere.
Left it Subway.
That's right.
Yeah,
but-
yeah, they had it.
Okay, was it like a month ago or something?
That was a while ago, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it was. Well,
All right.
tell me
What?
why.
We're good.
Call to order the
May 11th.
May 11th meeting of the Town of Rochester. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Stacy, would you call the roll, please?
It's a game worth watching. Last week.
Chair Jones,
Here.
Member Nelson.
Here.
Member Roberts,
Here.
Member Pinsky.
Here.
Member Farwell is here somewhere.
Here.
Member Duda. Here. Member Petra.
Yeah.
Dave Rich, myself, and Joe Greg.
Do we have to review the
Same building.
yeah.
And then-
On. Can you review the
It's only quiet.
minutes, Dave? Could you review the minutes that you took at the Innis pre-meeting
Okay.
for the board?
So, Rick, Peter, Dave Gordon, Dave Turch, and I met with a group of the Innis, with Carl Summer. And Rick, who is running the organization there, and Charles Blakeman, who is an investor. We also met part of the meeting was Arnie from engineering and the gentleman who named Ken Verstedt, who runs traffic study for it. What Innes wants to do is a couple of things. They want to add 20 hospitality cabins on the grounds. They want to also move the entrance to the property, which is currently at Bank Street. They want to move it north. And then connect it to the current street. Because there have been a lot of issues with people taking a wrong turn and not going to, instead of going to Innis, going to the neighbors. So they want to try to avoid that. And in addition to that, they want to build some more pools, some cabanas, some utility. That's in a short what they're planning to do. Again, it was a pre-application meeting and it's not a final.
The only other thing that I would add to that is that they're proposing to keep the existing entrance for service and emergency only.
Okay, good.
Can I ask you a question? Can I ask a question? Do they have a master plan? Because I know they've had subsequent applications before us. Do they have like a master plan for how they might?
Not that I'm aware of. Okay, when they come, that's a good question for them.
Right.
They have a lot of work to do.
Issues are, this traffic. The issue because it can add more traffic into the property and it will add also be turning. On the property, much more traffic, yes, that is water. And so it's the usual issue of setting.
Yeah.
These are kind of the main issues we have identified at this point.
Yeah, Greg already estimated that the amount of additional water to be drawn is going to require a hydrogeologic study and probably a well testing of nearby neighbors.
There's adding significant parking, proposing adding. I mean, it's not even, it's just kind of tossing ideas around at this point. That's
It's, we have an existing parking space, but they formalize it. Next to the.
Let's not go too far with the questions because
Yeah,
they're
just,
not
we know
here.
the occupancy of the cabin at this point.
Not at this point.
But just one thought we should all be cognizant of is we should be consistent. And it's gonna need a hydro, we need to look at their septic. As we are at other applications.
Yeah.
If it meets the criteria, and this one apparently does.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's, did anybody have any comments on the minutes from the meeting of the 13th? Stacy?
10/27.
And the 27th, so March 27th and April 13th.
Nope,
I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes of. what were the dates?
27th,
April
March 27th.
27th and. What was the other date?
April 13th and April 27th.
April 13th and April 27th.
I have some minor edits which I'm going to send this.
Go to Stacy. Okay. Second, Jen, so Helena goes in first, Jennifer's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Was that the meeting? Was that so?
All right, so you want to recuse?
Yeah.
Yes, okay, one recusal, 6 ayes. Thanks. Okay, we have a public hearing on Dunn Farms. Project better known as Dunn Farms at the corner of Crum Road and Dunn Farms Road. Anybody here for that project? If you could sign in, there's a sign-in sheet at the back, that would be appreciated. Hi,
Hello, how you doing?
Are you representing-
Bill today? Yeah.
okay, so you're the bill.
Yeah.
What's your name?
Mike,
Mike
yep, Mike Morehouse.
Morehouse?
Yep.
Okay, Mike Morehouse, good. I was wondering where he was. I was gonna have to start
Yeah.
doing a two-step if he didn't get
He
it.
just told me to come down and holler about it.
So, so the rules of the public hearing, for those that are here who wish to comment, is that we're looking for information from the public that perhaps the board has missed. And we'd like you to address the board, not the applicant. And typically, 99% of the time, we're not gonna respond to questions. So if you have a statement, form it, or you have a question, put it in the form of a statement. But this isn't a discourse back and forth. We've been talking about this project for months. So hopefully you've been able to track it. If not, and you have a statement to make about this, that's fine. We're looking for factual information that would cause us to pause and perhaps we missed something. So with that, Mike, would you mind going back there and getting us the sign-in sheet? There's a map there for anybody who wasn't aware of it. There's a map there of the project. Thank you, Mike. Okay, so I'm just gonna run through the list as people signed in. And we'd like you to comments to keep them to about 7 minutes. Again, please address the board with your comments. So the first person on the list was Bonnie. It looks like Ragan,
Regan,
Raven, sorry. Would you like to, yep,
thank you. The first thing you should actually know is that we weren't aware, and I say we, I mean my neighbors. I'm the farm that is contiguous to the property owned by Rob and Jeff. And I have the 32 acres around there, and they didn't even tell us that they were doing this. We got the notice about a week ago, and you're saying it's very far along, but none of us knew that. And looking at that map, I've never seen that map before about what their proposal is. So I, as quickly as possible, over the last couple of days, have tried to put something together. And I hope this is not the day that you're voting on this subdivision. I really hope not, because it can't possibly be that we get notice and then a few days later you vote on it.
everything was done according to what the code requires in terms of the notice. The fact that you didn't know about it. We have public hearing, not public hearing, we have notices published on the town website when we review the project, and every one of them have been publicized. Now, not everybody in the town goes to the website to look and see what's on the planning board agenda, but so we may make not a decision tonight, but we may close the public hearing tonight, question mark. But it's good that you're here, you got the notice, and that's the notice you're supposed to get.
The reason that you send the notice in the first place,
Yeah.
that people have an opportunity to respond and speak. And as you know, most of you know here, that farm is historical. It is one of the most important long farms that existed in Cohasset. Hundreds of years. Frank Dunn, Mark Dunn, Howard Dunn, who just passed away, Stubby Dunn. And we have all worked, and Amanda is here today. And we worked so hard to keep it being the farm that it was. And Mark, as you know, is still haying the fields consistently. What's happening here, from our point of view, is not just a historical piece, but just physically, it's hard to imagine what is being done here with subdivisions in this field, where we have wetlands, bird sanctuaries, clay, problems with septic, problems with water. I haven't seen a single environmental study on this situation. I know that there was a subdivision many years ago, and we were told that there couldn't be any subdivisions after that. So there's a lot of history that's relevant to what you're doing and what's happening today. So we haven't seen, all we saw was a section and block today from on a breakdown of what even is being proposed. I don't know how well that's on the website, but I did see it this weekend when I was listed. Everybody here, I'm sure, is very invested in keeping Cohasset beautiful, rural. That's not a suburban block. So much went into making sure that the houses, the homes, the lives there were continued in a way that it kept its ruralness. We had little arguments and conversations just about not having streetlights. That's how serious we were about that. Again, I'm very surprised that Robert Jen did this without any human notice to any of us, especially to those who are completely contiguous. I don't even understand how you could have a road that goes into that middle of that field, which is purely wet. I don't understand when there are issues with wells, how that could happen. I haven't seen any study. I don't know if there are any studies that have been done. But all I read now is that I have not seen an environmental impact. I don't see one listed on the website. There are wetlands, there are septic issues, there's water issues, and I think it will cause a suburban free-for-all that this town does not want or need, and we know the neighbors don't want or need that. So I ask that we have an opportunity to respond to what this actual plan is. I'm saying this for the first time.
Okay, so I need to respond to, you may be seeing it for the first time, but this has been before this board for quite some time. If you look at the website, the documents that you're asking for, they're there.
Can I just clarify something?
The section and lot, I did not see the breakdown that's here.
On the what, you've looked
On
on
the
the
website.
town,
Look
well,
multiple times.
ahead, Peter.
People may or may not be aware, but in the last year, the town has instituted something called Muni Collab. And Muni Collab is a portal where all the documents of every application get uploaded, as well as reviews and studies that the town, the planning board and the consultants do. So it's an effort for making it completely open and accessible to everybody. So that is up there, and it has been up there since this application came back to us, just as I'm not, we value the public hearing, the public comment, which is why, but it has always been, all the documents for this project are uploaded on Muni Collab, and that's open to anybody to look at any time.
I appreciate what you're saying, but the fact that I didn't see it and I'm pretty savvy on the computer, other people haven't seen it, people who are in this field didn't see it, so that fights me.
So your comment about, there was a project from many years ago, 10, 15 years ago. I think they were putting north of 20 homes or 30 homes in there at one time.
So
There were three or four different phases of the project. This is 3 additional homes, all of which meet the zoning requirement. So from 30 some odd homes to three additional homes in addition to the project, or rather the existing home. The other thing is what Jeff and, what was his name? Jeff and Rob did or didn't tell you.
But we're considered neighbors and it has.
I think you should direct that to Jeff and Rob.
We will, but I wanted the public to know that, and I wanted the board to know that.
Okay.
Because I think we all feel the same way, those who are on Dunn Farm Road, on Frum Road, on Fisher Road, on Boyce Mill Road. We really value that rural farm historical piece of land, and it's not clear where there could even be a right of way, or how it would affect traffic, or how it would affect the water, or how there's nothing about that we have seen. And I think that we should have an opportunity to see that, know that, and be heard on that before it actually happens.
Okay, so I assume you're gonna go back and look for the online site and you're gonna read all the material.
Of course I am.
Okay, good.
Could you spell the name of the online site?
It's called Muni Collab, MUNICOLLAB, and you can find the portal through the planning board on the town website.
But first you need to go on town website.
And so I said the town website is the port, that gets you, if you go to the town website, planning board, you can find a portal into Muni Collab.
I would also add that there are checkoffs on this short environmental assessment form that are completely inconsistent with what I understand our land to be. And it says specifically, is the proposed action consistent with the predominant character of the existing built or natural landscape? And it says, yes, nothing could be further from the truth than that, nothing.
You know, the other thing that we're led to believe is that a number of people have approached the owners, whoever who the owners are, and asked them to consider to put it into a land trust. They've decided not to do that. Again, that's not our law. We can't force them to put this into a land trust.
Yes, but
And as far as any specific comments you have about that, we'd welcome them. But we're not gonna go through that whole form with you
I
tonight.
would like an opportunity to respond to this.
I can't
because
hear you.
I would like an opportunity to respond to this.
Well,
because-
we'll see what the other comments are tonight. We'll make a
Thank you.
decision whether or not we're gonna
Thank you.
continue the public hearing.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for what you do. I know you care about Cohasset and what it looks like and how it appeals to the community. It takes care of our neighbors and does what it's supposed to do. It's
You know, I
beautiful.
think the best use of this land is the owner has a right to develop the land. And he could have, hang on, the owner has the right to develop the land. We would much prefer, I think, as a board to see this in a land trust. We certainly would, as I'm sure everybody else would, but that's not our call.
But they
There's no
don't have
way,
unfettered rights. They don't.
sorry, they don't have unfettered rights to impact you, that's correct.
And they don't have unfettered rights to impact the water or
Well-
or the sanctuary or.
We'd be willing to listen to comments that you, specific comments that you have regarding water shortage, whatever, in these surrounding homes. Be happy to hear that.
Thank you.
Okay,
In what form would you like me to?
you can write about it. If we leave the public hearing open, we need to know that,
I would ask you to do that.
but you know, specifics. Your well's been impacted by X amount,
Absolutely.
whatever it may be. Okay,
Thank you.
we're not going to. We're not going to either go in a different direction simply on we don't like the 3 houses that are being built, or we think there's gonna be water impact.
Yep.
You need to give us specifics
We will do
of
that.
things that you believe you've been affected by or will be affected
We will do
by.
that.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
What is the time allowed for that?
Well, we'll see after tonight.
Okay.
Okay. Next one, Alex Vimin.
Hi, I'm Alex Human. I'm a 22-year resident of Kerhonkson. I actually recently moved into Boyce Mill after selling a place on Stony Hill. I'm also a business owner in Kerhonkson. And I wanted to say 2 things before I read my statement. One, I concur with Bonnie. I was told by someone nice on the planning board that a letter wasn't sent to us. We're very close to this property, and apparently we're not in the area that was allowed to send a letter. So I found out about this from walking up the road, which I do every day, and also from my neighbor Jay. So I would love it if in the future, when there's things like this happening, if there was an allowance to let more people know in the neighborhood. Cause we're just hearing about it word of mouth, so. to Bonnie's
Let me
point-
comment on that. We're required to send to people within 500 feet of the property line,
Right.
not beyond that.
Right,
So
that's unfortunate.
I don't know how many-
That,
I don't know how many letters we sent out. It might have been 50, it might have been 100, it might have been 10, but that's what the law requires.
Right.
And that's as much as we can do.
yeah, it's
Okay.
unfortunate. Anyway, the second point before I read my statement is. We met with Jim Wild recently. We had to install a well on Boyce Mill Road. He did not want to install it because there's huge water issues in this area around, up and down Dunn, Boyce Mill, all around. We had to dig 500 feet to get water. I know other people in the area have the same issue. You guys have it. It's a huge, huge issue. So water. Environmental issues, traffic issues. Yes, Bonnie's talking about all of that. I just have a little bit of a different take on the situation, and I'm gonna read my statement now. I already said my name. I care deeply about this community and about thoughtful, sustainable growth that protects what makes this place special. I'd like to express my opposition to the proposed 4-lot subdivision. My concern is not simply about 4 houses, it's about the broader pattern we've been seeing throughout the area, increasing development pressure without the infrastructure, oversight, or long-term planning needed to support it responsibly. Many of these properties are no longer being purchased by local families looking to become part of the community. Increasingly, they are being purchased by developers and outside investors with the intention of turning them into STRs, which are short-term rentals, Airbnb, blah, blah, blah. I was on the housing board for a year. We're dealing with the reality that the town has hundreds of unregulated STRs. This is a huge problem in this town. There is no way right now that the town is able to enforce this. I don't see these 3 houses going up and becoming long-term everyday residents. They're gonna be bought by an investor, they're gonna be built, and they're gonna be turned into Airbnbs. That's what's happening. I'm seeing it all over the town. Approving additional subdivisions without addressing that larger context feels short-sighted. I'm not against all development. I understand that communities evolve, but a growth needs to be intentional, balanced, and aligned with the actual capacity of the town, including enforcement, environmental impact, infrastructure, and quality of life for year-round residents. Before additional subdivisions are approved, I believe the town should first address the existing STR enforcement problems and create clearer safeguards to ensure new development that truly benefits the local community rather than accelerating speculative investment. And I can give you examples, a couple of them just on our road, where houses were renovated or they were built and they're just being used for Airbnb. Unregulated, illegal Airbnbs that this town is not enforcing. This is a unique and beautiful place. People care deeply about it because it still feels human scale, connected to nature and rooted in community. I hope the board will take a cautious and thoughtful approach here and consider the cumulative impact these types of projects are having on the town of Rochester. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Again, I want to correct some misunderstandings of the role of planning board. We don't enforce short-term rentals. There's a certain number of short-term rentals as a percentage of the home stock in the town, which by town code is allowed to be developed into short-term rentals. That's not our, if you would, shtick. And as far as allowing whether locals or non-locals to buy property, that's again, not something that's regulated that I know of anywhere in New York State. But that's not something that we can regulate. So if you know that there are some short-term rentals that you have a question as to whether or not they have the proper permits, the proper place to go is the building department in order to make a complaint with specifics. Either you've observed something, you know who owns it, you know who's using it, you know how frequently they're using it, and you need to give specific dates, times, and the address. We have a new building inspector, if you would. I guess the term is, well, it sounds a little crass, a new sheriff in town. And so if there's somebody who's violating the short-term rental law, that's where you need to go. That's not anything that we can take into consideration in the planning board. So that's just the facts. And so I need to,
It's a reality.
we need to, it's a reality, but we don't have the authority or the law is not on our side. So I appreciate your comments, but we're looking for factual information about wells, about traffic, those kinds of things,
Okay, I'll
not
give
to
you
ask
one.
us to do something that's outside of our wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, the next person on the list is Adriana Famiga. Famiga? I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I will not be speaking.
Okay, thank you. Amanda Whitaker.
What was the
Hello.
first name? I'm sorry.
Amanda,
Thank you.
I'm a gun. My family has farmed that land for hundreds of years. And my main concerns are the planning board aware of how wet that land actually is. Because as someone that has lived and farmed that land for my entire life, it's more wet than I think that you realize it is, especially those side hills where lot 2 and 3 are proposed. There are hundreds of springs that run through the side of those hills. There are years that we've not been able to farm that until we've had 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks of dry weather, completely dry, no rain. And that all runs it. I mean, there's a wet marsh on what I believe is Paulu's property that we can't even mow over. It all just runs down from there. My other concern is the proposed driveway location.
Can I say something?
Please do.
John just put a drainage ditch on that side of that hill.
Your name, please?
John Mashamish. many, many years ago. So that's all I can tell you. That they got pipe on that hill there,
John, where do you live?
that goes down at the bottom of Ravens property,
Right, where do you live? Up on Dunn?
on, Robin and, just dropped.
Okay, would you let the lady finish? And then if you want to speak, we'll let you speak, but she finishes first.
So one of my other concerns is this proposed driveway for lot 4. That goes over an area that's even wetter than, I mean, it says that there's a brook here. I wouldn't even necessarily call it that, but the amount of excavation that would need to be done in order to put in a proper driveway, I don't think is going to be, I don't know the proper terminology, please forgive me, but I don't, the impact of that would be too much for the rundown of where that all goes. My other question is, I'm wondering if the town has considered the safety of the locations of these proposed driveways. Based on the hill and the way the hill comes up, it comes around the curve. It's already a dangerous road to drive. It's too narrow. There's deep, gullies, drainage ditches, whatever you want to call them, on the sides. Wait, I mean, 4 weeks ago, somebody was off in the drainage ditch, had to be pulled out. You know, has the town considered the impact that's gonna have safety wise, as far as people that live, drive, walk, bike, I mean, on these roads? It is not, there's not a good view coming out of either of those locations, just based on the hill, the way it comes up around the curves when you press the top of the hill. So that was one of my other concerns. And also, you know, we're still farming these lands, particularly a large portion of what's proposed to be lot 4. And we spend money to fertilize that property, and I know you guys, you have nothing to do with this. This is purely a Rob and Jeff. You know, but what kind of notice? I mean, you have people that are farming this land so that they can have an agricultural exemption. And they didn't even have the common decency to say, hey, listen, this is what we're doing. Don't put more money into lands that you're not gonna get back. Again, I know that's not related to you, but it is what it is.
We were quite disappointed and upon hearing that while they wanted to build houses, there's still a way of having this land put into a trust, a land trust.
And also additionally, I understand the need
that's-
for more homes in this community. However, we need affordable homes.
Right.
For people that live and work here. I've been here my entire life. My father's been here his entire life. My mother's been here her entire life. It's to the point that I, as a registered nurse who makes a good salary, probably can't afford to live here at some point. And I don't think it's necessary for, like, I think the town really, really needs to look at the kind of housing that's going in. We need to stop pushing people that have been here their whole lives out. There needs to be balance. There needs to be balance, and it doesn't seem like there is any right now.
Okay, John, do you want to speak?
No, I'm good.
I'm sorry? You're fine?
No.
Okay, anybody else? Yes, sir. Can I have your name, please?
Yeah, my name is Mark Goldberg. I live at the 60 Crum Road, which is contiguous with the property. And I found out about the hearing today. I never received anything in the mail. Fortunately, I was visiting with my neighbor John, and he asked me if I was coming to the meeting. And I said, what meeting? And I had a flashback to the last time I was at board meetings like this, zone meetings, was when we were fighting against Wayward Ranch. And I'll make, but I don't have a prepared statement, I didn't have time to prepare one, but I'll pretty short. I was very surprised to hear that Rob was doing what he was doing for the following reason. During the hearings around Wayward Ranch and during the whole period, I mean, that went on for many, many months. And by the way, I got a letter about the hearings way before they started the hearings. So we were there from the very beginning for at least 8, 9 months of hearings. It was really for a long time. If any of you, I don't know if any of you were here during that, but it was a long and somewhat torturous path that right before COVID, and COVID might have solved that problem. Hoping that this doesn't have to happen.
I remember the meetings. I had hair then. And I also remember the notices that went out from the neighbors in the area.
Well, that might have been the case. And what I just wanted to say was I was surprised that Rob was doing this for 3 reasons. Rob played a very important role during our meetings and our hearings around Wayward Ranch. And the 3 things that he was fighting very hard for, and that he wrote letters and briefs and reports and read them in front of the meetings many times, was 1, the problem with water. He was just incensed that we would have a huge animal reservation there because of the lack of water. The second one was the wetlands. And if I have time, I could send you all the emails that Rob sent us concerning wetlands. And the third one was his general love of the ecological environment. He made a big point of that this is an ecology that is worth preserving, that we should fight to preserve. And he did that, at least at that. That's pretty much what I want to say.
Seems like some of you should be talking to Rob.
It seems that it's, yeah.
I remember those meetings very well. I remember the issue with the wetlands. I remember the issue with the potential for bog turtle environment, so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. There were water studies done which showed that there was water, despite what you say, below the clay, and there is clay soil there. And there were retention ponds and detention ponds that were all planned as part of the project. Of course, it didn't go anywhere.
But that was a different, that's a
The,
different acreage than this. This is a different area completely.
Will there
be Yeah.
water studies done now
Does,
this?
I'm sorry,
Will there be water studies done for this?
the amount of water being required for 3 new homes, it's not 4 new homes, it's 3 new homes, doesn't require a water study. Now, I said to the other woman that if you have evidence that your wells have been impacted or are being impacted today, you have well log information, you have loss of water information, you've had to re-drill your wells, all that kind of information is information that we can take a look at. But given the number of homes that we're being put in, the size of the lots is, hang on, I'll get to you, should be more than adequate. But nothing here suggests that we needed to do a water study. And nor is there anything here, just given the size of the lots. If on the other hand, if there's, hang on, if on the other hand, there's evidence that you have of some water problems, we'd be happy to listen to them. Sir?
No, I have a water problem and I'm directly across the street. Those houses face our problem.
to get a name.
The well was,
Can I have your name, sir?
Jay and I live in the Dunn house,
Did you spell the last name?
ANIA.
So if you have information
Yeah, well,
about,
my information is simply, it's not an urgent thing, but the reality is that I've got a 573-foot well that delivers 2 gallons a minute. And that was, I think, took a long time to find, and I'm right across the street.
okay, so that kind of information is the information that we need in a meeting like this. Those kind of well numbers.
Right.
573 feet with 2 gallons. The
Right.
Board of Health will still approve that because it sounds to me that meets those standards. But if there are many people in this room that are having problems with their water and they have wells of that type, given that kind of yield, we'd like to hear about that.
You should.
But
talk
up to
Jim
now,
Wild.
hang on. Up to now, there's nothing here that would show that there are any water problems here. And the standard in terms of when we would ask for a study, this didn't meet it at the outset. Somebody over here had their hand up.
I'm Laura Perry. I live on Boyce Mill Road.
I'm sorry, could you say your name?
Perry.
Okay.
205 Boyce Mill Road.
Mhm.
My family has been there for over 75 years.
Our lot started out, my parents bought it. It was over 9 acres. It was subdivided, my siblings bought it for reasons. They sold off their parcels of land. Our concern is people can do what they want with their land as long as it's legally feasible and it doesn't have an environmental impact around the neighborhood. What I hear from people, we're on very tight income budgets. We don't get the raises, we don't get the influence, we don't get the bucks from people, we don't have other incomes coming in. And what I'm told is, oh, you should be happy that these $1 million homes are going in around your property because it only raises your property value. Well, what about us being able to afford our property that we are fighting tooth and nail to hold on to and keep in our family? That people come through here and build these houses for short-term rentals or weekend homes. They don't, the impact that this board is setting for this community, and not just this community, for all farmland communities across the United States, but here particularly, is really disheartening and quite frankly disgusting. I think people need to see a broader picture than just development and plopping down $1 million home in the middle of the field because the acreage is okay. You don't, and this 500-foot notification, I'm sorry, but it's bullshit. And if that's something the board can change, you should change it. Because you need to notify people from all around, I don't care if it's 2 miles, 1 mile, every person that lives on those roads and commutes on those roads and walks and rides and walks their dogs and have families on those roads and pull out onto those roads. And the traffic is absurd. And we hear from the town, oh, well, this is the speed limit. This is the best we can do. This is the best we can do. We'll install stop signs. We'll have the cops come and do this. That's all well and good. But it stops with you guys, the planning board, to put in some kind of regulation and understanding that not everybody wants to keep up with the Joneses. Not everybody wants all these big influential people who are coming in and throwing money at the town or at landowners so they can have something that looks shiny on their propeller. I just not even right. I don't even know any of you. I've lived here my entire life. I'm 65 years old. I don't get involved in other people's land acts or problems or anything like that. But this is just goes against everything this family, the Dunn family, and the family, the Hornbecks before that, fought to keep in the town of Rochester. You guys are doing open farm acts and agricultural acts all over the place that you're denying applications for buildings. And your answer is, oh, well, somebody should put it in a trust.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry you think it's BS. You're in the wrong place. We don't make the laws around here. The code regarding short-term rentals is done by the town board.
I understand that.
That's where you belong to express your concern.
I'm not
I appreciate,
expressing-
stop. I gave you 7 or 8 minutes to speak. It's my turn to speak. We're not going to debate this. I get to talk. You can come back again if you want. Sorry?
That was pretty rude.
What was rude?
Way you came about.
No, it's not.
No.
So this is not the place where we set laws. That's done on the town.
This is the
town
place
board.
where the planning board.
This is the
gives
place where
approval
we
for
take,
that.
we take the code and we apply the code equitably
Is this
and
the place
according
where
to the code.
approves
That's correct.
buildings?
According to the code. If you don't like the code, there's ways of getting it changed. We have no ability to change the code. That's it.
Sure you.
And it's, no, we don't.
No, we don't. The town board, go to the town board. They are in charge.
You're totally
in charge.
They need to change it. It doesn't get done here.
We are bound by the code.
Has upended the US refuge.
That's the end of it.
Okay, anybody else? Go ahead. Can I have your name?
Yeah, my name is Jean Goldberg. I'm right over husband, and I learned of the hearing. Wife, and I learned of the hearing from John earlier today, so I'm totally unprepared. And if I had known about it, I would have been a little more prepared. But I want to echo Amanda's comments about water on the property. Because I have one recollection of one conversation with Rob when we were meeting around Wayward Ranch. And that was, he told me the property was so wet that he was thinking of farming rice. You know, so that suggests to me
He was thinking of what?
farming rice.
Right.
So that suggests to me that you have an issue with a wetland there.
There are literally hundreds, I'm not even exaggerating, hundreds of springs that just run down the side of that hill. You wouldn't even believe it if you didn't experience it.
And I think that's an issue, and, you know, I haven't had a chance to research the town code regarding this. But my general understanding is that having a wetland on your property is an issue in terms of this kind of development on the property.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Can I just add one thing? I think it's really important to go through this project information assessment form because it's so clear. So clear that it's contrary to what we all know is the reality of that property.
What I need from you is in writing what you disagree with.
Very good.
We're not gonna go through that tonight.
And the plan is individual wells. That.
We're not gonna go
also is
through it
possible.
tonight. Thank
Okay.
you. Anybody else? Anybody else? Okay.
I would just ask that the public, whatever it's called, this public thing, be left open.
I'm getting to that. The board have any comments?
I just have one comment. I know that many members of the community make a habit, myself included, of checking the agenda on the town board, the planning board, ZBA, just to know what's happening in the town on a regular basis. Because, you know, you see something come up, you say, oh, you know, I should tell someone about that, or, you know, check in. Many of the meetings are available online, but I think that's a good thing to do, is to make sure that you're aware of what's on the town board agendas, because and town board and planning board, zoning board of appeals, to know what's going on in the town. That's how you stay informed.
It's also related to that. It's also possible, just for the public education, to get notifications from about agendas for each of these boards. So you'll get an email knowing that there is a planning board meeting, here's the agenda, here's a town board meeting, here's the agenda, and so on and so forth. And so I echo Dave's comments. I know it's very frustrating. I'm feeling the frustration in the room, but being informed, it's really hard to reach out to everybody in the town and expensive. And it's just, you know, we can talk about this once the public hearing is.
Yeah. And you also have access to information now like never before. It used to be that you had to foil the information and wait for the secretary to send it back to you. You had to foil for everything. Now it's all there in front of you in the history of the information for each application is right there in front of you as well. So it's.
Can I just clarify? You need to go on a town website, and there is options there. I don't know exactly where. Sign up for email. You provide your email, you continuously get in messages, anything new there, you get an email, and every day. So if you want to participate and know what's going on in the community, this is the way to do it.
I did that over a year ago when we were doing the bridge project, and I have not gotten one email since. I've signed up 3 times.
There was some change there, I don't know.
Okay. We're gonna leave the public hearing open.
Did you have a comment, sir?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
say something. You talk about being informed, okay? I live on Grum Road. There was a kennel put across the street from me that I was never informed about. The town quarry pit up there. They use that for Lewis's trucks to go in and out every day.
John, do your comments have anything to do with this project?
I'm just talking about being informed about things. Nobody on this road was informed about a kennel.
Were
coming.
you within 5? What's the
Yes.
kennel got to do with this project?
Doesn't have nothing to do with it. I'm
Okay.
just talking about being informed.
Do you have any
Nobody
comments?
informed.
Do you have any
anybody on that
comments you
road.
want to make? Do you have any comments you want to make about this project?
Okay.
Thank you. All right, the public hearing is done for tonight. It's gonna stay open. We will not close the public hearing, so we're gonna keep it open.
How much notice will we get for the next?
Wait a minute, I'm not finished.
Thank you.
What I want to do is hear from the board as to next steps, because I have in mind a couple of next steps. For the public that has specific issues. And I heard a lot of unspecific, non-specific issues. Things that we don't control on this board. I'm sorry. I'd like to be king and rule the world, but I don't. We have separations of duties here, as we presumably try to have in our government in Washington. One of them is a legislative body, which is called the town board. They're the ones that make the laws. We're simply the ones that try to follow those laws. We have some flexibility when some things become apparent that we can go beyond and do studies to find out if whatever's being proposed is appropriate. And then we have a court, if you would, it's called the CBA. So I don't rule as king here, and I don't have authority beyond that which is given to me by the code, and in fact by New York State. And nobody on this board has any of those authorities beyond what those words say in that code. So I'd be willing to, we're gonna leave the public hearing open. The comments for tonight are over with this project. You can write us a letter. I'm sorry, I gave you an opportunity to talk before. So what we're gonna do is ask you all, the public, to let us know what your issues are specifically. Things like it's been farmed 150 years. I grew up on a farm in Connecticut that is no longer a farm. So it distresses me to see farms go by the wayside. If I didn't want it to go by the wayside, I would have bought it myself and kept it as a farm. I didn't. It was way out on in eastern Connecticut, in a little town called Voluntown. So unfortunately, these things happen. There are things that can be done to prevent that from happening. Things like putting property in the trust. But that has to be done by the landowner. As far as preventing people that come up from New York City or any place else to buy property, there's no law that I know of that prevents them from doing that. Nor should there be. Period. Now, you don't have to agree with that, but that's the law, and that's the laws that we follow in this country. So if there are specific issues, water issues, you know about springs that are on the property, like to know that. We'd like to know this sooner than later. With sometime this week. No more comments from tonight, I'm sorry.
So how do you want us,
In writing,
excuse me?
in writing.
Oh, in writing, but like what specifications are gonna be required so that you take them seriously?
A hydrological study, for instance.
If you have your well logs,
Well,
if you know how deep your well is, have you had problems with your well?
We've got the same well.
Have you had to re-drill the well? Any of those kinds of issues that lead you to believe that somehow your well is going to be affected by this property?
Right, without a hydrological study.
Well, how would you know it? Then you probably don't have any water problems.
That's.
Well-
Comment about what's coming once, you know if you're gonna have water problems.
We all know
that project has me to.
You know, when you build.
Okay, I leave it to all of you to figure it out. I leave it to you to figure it out.
Figure it out.
How deep is your well? How deep is your well?
573 feet.
How many gallons?
2 gallons a minute.
That's all I need to know.
There are things that you want us to be, to our concerns, correct? That we want you ask us to put right. Before you approve this.
Why are you objecting to the project? Why are you objecting to the project? Is it water problems?
On the basis of the water and the rest.
So tell me about your water problems.
Do not have them now, because they're not 2-3 houses across the street from me, but there may be problems.
Okay, so tell me about your well right now.
What's that? This has nothing to do with the project.
We have a water expert here, don't you?
What's the?
Can I jump in for a second?
Go ahead, Jim.
Hey, folks, can I just
Yes.
talk to you for a second? Just, the thing that you have to recognize that this board does is we need, and this part is my favorite part, believe it or not, is the public comment, because you all live there, we don't. Right, so we depend upon the local knowledge that people have, but we have to have information that is documented in order to act. Like to require a hydrogeological study, there's certain requirements that have to be met, the amount of water that is proposed to be used over a day. In order to trigger the requirement for a hydrogeological study to do. So in order for us to be able to request that anything be done, whether it's a wetland study or a biological study, we need to have some sort of factual evidence to justify that.
Okay.
And just to say,
Yes, it's much clearer and much nicer.
so this is, we depend upon the public's input for this stuff, but it has to be backed up with, factual information. Historical information, if there's springs, if there's stuff like that we, that we may not know about, if there's any other issue that we looked at. We did look at wetlands, because wetlands, just so everybody knows, they show up on our maps as wetland areas. They have to be verified and delineated by the DEC, and we did that. That's part of the process. This has been going on for a while, this application, and we have been working diligently to answer all of these questions, and we got to the point now of public comment where we open it up to the public to get more information than we may not get.
Thank you very much. Last question.
I'll give you an example of a letter that we got on another project. You asked. This letter explained over a number of, yes, I'm talking to you. I'm giving you an example of a letter that we received on another project, which might be what might help you in what you write to us, where they described the numerous times that they had a household full of people for holidays, whatever, 2, 3, 4, 5 house guests. And in every one of these events, they would run out of water, either from the use of the bathroom, the use of the showers, whatever. And they were objecting to a particular project. And we got numerous letters like that. And we were able to look at, because the people had the information, they had their well log information, the depth of the well, how many gallons per minute or the well delivers. They were able to give us that information. And we were able to look at it and make a decision of what we were going to do in terms of this particular project. That's the kind of information. You're right. There's no way that you would know whether this is going to have an impact on you unless we actually had them do a well test. But we need to have enough information in order to say to them that they may have to do a well test. Just saying that you might have a problem is not good enough. If you have a problem now, and you have a problem, and the lady over here that left have a problem, you have a problem, the lady in the back has a problem. If we have an accumulation of problems from 5, 6, 7 different neighbors, and now not all of a sudden, but specific problems that you can quote, and they can tell us about your well. We also have the ability to look up most wells in the area on a database, and we can see what those wells, how deep they are, and what they are yielding if the person who drilled them actually submitted the reports to the Department of Health. So we might be able to go back and backfill all information on and do something about it. But yeah, you wouldn't be able to project if 3 houses is going to have an effect on you, but you can tell us a story if it exists. But just saying that you might have a problem is not going to do it.
How do I take a very long?
I can't hear you.
Excuse me, how do I prove that it exists?
The well log that we have, which we'll get.
Just
I think the gentleman next to you knows what I'm talking about.
And not only did it take a very long time to find a well on that property, and I'm contiguous. But when we did, it doesn't take long to start getting sediment. I have bottles of water around for that issue. That have to be addressed with the toilet as well. So I find this shocking. Individual wells. And then individual septic systems, which Kim can speak to on our property. So we will get you the information.
So give us an information.
Do you have a schedule for this?
What?
Approval to get this from here to approval?
We won't. I'll look for the letters. Let's try to get the letters in this week, next week. we're not gonna reschedule this meeting. We don't have another meeting until June 11th or June 8th. Whether or not we have this project back on the agenda or not, I'm not sure. The way to find out if it's on the agenda is to take a look at the town website to look at the planning board agenda. So I don't know when it's going back on the agenda. The lady over here?
Right, question of this wetlands issue, I know the gentleman over here said that DEC has a database of wetlands and you've already looked at the issue. I would just say, I have wetlands on my property and they're not in the DEC database. I think the DEC database is deficient. And that it's not enough to look at the DEC database.
Now, there's a whole process, and the wetland law has changed in the last couple of years, and it's actually being contested right now, but there's a process of identifying a wetland to the DEC. They do a different sort of process now to go out and determine whether, because land is wet, doesn't mean it's a wetland. Right, so it's a definition of a thing, of an area that they have to decide, they have to make the determination on a case-by-case basis of if the wetlands show up, we ask the applicant to write to the DEC to, and we get a delineation and a letter of notification from the DEC. They've evaluated it and they're not gonna, it is or it isn't. And what it means for this, will it have an impact on the property? So because land is just wet, and I understand wetness is a problem on this property, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a wetland. There are identified wetlands, and we go through and we start there and then go to the DEC for their final opinion. But the law and the standard for wetlands has been evolving over the last few years.
So are you saying the DEC did a thorough evaluation of this property and determined that it doesn't have wetlands on it?
No, they did determine there are wetlands on it. On the far side of the field, there's a wetland area that's been identified. And it's marked on the map here. But we go through and we check and we see, are there streams, are there impacts? We have to go off the data that we get. And part of the public input is the data that we get. But the data from the public has to be backed up with information that, is provable, right? So that's why this part of the process is really important, because we hear about things that we wouldn't necessarily know about because we don't live there. I'm gonna just address one other thing, which is somebody mentioned the visibility on the road. Part of the thing that hasn't been done yet, we haven't gotten but it gets referred to the town highway department and the fire department for visibility and road safety. And that has not been done. I think it's been referred. We haven't got an answer back from them.
We told the applicant to get the information.
Right, so that's part of the process. And historical also, it goes out to the State Office of Historic Preservation. They have to say, yes, there's a property or site that might be archaeological, there might be historical, all that. So we go through a very thorough process. It's not, believe me, this is not the first meeting that we've had on this. And we go through, a long list of things to make sure that it complies with the code that we have to follow.
Are you saying it has gone through an historical analysis?
I think we're waiting on that as well. So
Done by who?
the State Historic, SHPO is called.
OPRHP.
What's that?
OPRHP, Office of Parks.
There's a New York State office that handles all historical properties, and depending upon whether or not it's within a certain distance of a project, they'll respond to our inquiry, whether there's any historic concerns for historical buildings, archaeological sites. Not that it's been a farm for 150 years.
And
So the house I live in, which is the farmhouse, is on the national.
That's
register.
why your
National
house
Register
was,
Historic home.
and that's one of the reasons why a letter was sent, or should have been sent, to SHPO, it's called SHPO, to identify the fact that there is a historical house there, and whether or not SHPO sees any impacts with this project going up to that particular house.
I'd be very.
Right.
The historical barn.
No,
Beautiful barn.
I know. Anything else?
I have a very simple question. Were all the people who were here tonight with you during this process when there was,
Never saw any of them.
so would that
Never heard of
suggest the inadequacy of the notification?
I'm not
That's
disagreeing with the inadequacy or the adequacy of the notification. We're constrained by what the code says. So your point's been well made.
How well that worked.
And you know, a lot of the last project that was from this area was the gentleman right over there. That was all by word of mouth. And there were people sitting through that project, Wayward Farms, from the start of that project to the end. It was almost a year. And that had nothing to do with the notice. That had to do with word of mouth. So I can't change the notification process.
Well,
We
we
count-
change your timeline, I guess, in this instance.
We're changing the timeline. We're not gonna go forward any further. We're gonna keep the public hearing open.
Very,
If you want to know what everybody's responsibility here is, I'm asking you to get us information that we can use, validly used, to ask the applicant to do more work to identify the impact of this project. I am going to let our planner talk about SHPO because I don't want to leave any misunderstanding that just because the project is inside of a historical house doesn't mean the project gets stopped. Dave, would you comment on what SHPO does with referrals on historic homes?
Historic preservation officer, there, every state has one, happens to be housed in New York State at the State Parks Department. And there's an open project review as we speak there. Anyone can go online and see the status of these reviews. It was triggered in part because of the stone house as mentioned, is contiguous, and that's on the National Register of Historic Places as of 1997, according to the record. So the board's waiting for a response from the state on whether they think there's going to be a potential, what they call potential impact that needs to be researched related to the presence of the stone house and the farmstead, as well as any archaeological features that might be in the neighborhood. The same thing happened because they have a closed project on the state website for that farm project you were talking about.
Wayward Ranch.
Wayward Ranch. It's the similar kind of work was done for that. So it's pending. Yeah. It's the board doesn't know yet what this the state experts are going to say we should do.
There's also a historical barn right across the street that been taken into
The
consideration.
whole parcel that
The whole
the
parcel.
Hornbeck Farm parcel
Okay.
is on the National Register of Historic Places, primarily because of the stone house.
Yes.
It's a those National Register listings from decades ago were rather vague. So there's very little detail provided, and the state at the time would put titled parcels on, which they don't do anymore. So we would, if you were to list the house today, you'd have much greater detail about why it's listed. Is it because it's architecturally significant? Is it because of the landscape? What makes it unique? We have to rely on the state experts to tell us what makes this unique. Because that data doesn't exist in the database.
Okay, anything else?
Ask 3 quick clarifying questions. Now, you say you want information in writing. Is the best way to get that to you via email, bring a letter down?
Yes, email.
Okay, what is the email, please?
Stacy?
It's PB, like planning board. ZBA, like zoning board of appeals. At town of Rochester. .ny.gov.
You wouldn't happen to have a card or some paper with that on it?
Don't, I could write it
It's
down.
also-
It's on the website.
It's on the website, so you
Oh.
can find it on the website.
Right.
It's absolutely there. Email is with this. Give it to us.
My second question is, what is the distance for well issues to be considered?
What well issues? What kind of well issues?
Well, for instance, I live on Crum Road and I've had my well run dry. And so I'm just wondering what.
How deep is
distance
your well?
from This proposed location.
How deep is your well?
200 feet.
How far are you away from the project site? Approximately.
Yeah.
I mean, I live on what was some of the farm property initially, so, I mean, I don't know how far it is. I mean, through the road, it's longer than through the woods.
Send us a letter.
Okay,
And I can't answer that question until we'll take a look at the well logs in the area.
The third and final clarifying question I have is, what is considered proof of the springs? I mean, I have my anecdotal proof of, I've experienced it my whole life, but I mean, like, I can't bring you the hill.
Just tell us that there's multiple springs on the property.
Thank you.
I'm gonna let, I don't wanna. The fact that there's springs on the property doesn't stop a project from going forward.
I'm aware, my concern is the board aware of how many springs there are and how wet?
We
the
walked
side
that
of
property,
is?
we walked that property in March. And I think to a person, the comment was, like, I remember making the comment, this field is very wet.
It's wet.
And the reason why it's probably wet is because it's all clay. The springs or the contour of the land goes down towards, there's a stream in the back, or not a culvert, but a naturally occurring, stream bed that goes down into a pond, and that pond exits out and continues all the way down towards Maple Lane. And across the property that Wayward Ranch was going to be developing at one point in time. So we're aware of the fact that there's a lot of water on it. That by itself doesn't stop a project from going forward.
Yes, I understand that. I just don't, I mean, as far as where these two proposed home locations are in lot 2 or 3, my concern is how does the disruption when building, digging, grading and everything for those homes, when all those springs are running down from there, what effect does that have? And does that affect the integrity of the home that sits there?
Well, there's also a culvert that goes under that road, that farm road, that picks up all those springs. This farm road that's gonna go all the way from Dunn Road all the way to the back, that's currently a farm road, and there's a culvert that goes under there.
I know, I drive over it.
And those streams
It's
go,
full of pay every year.
those streams go through that culvert. So today, perhaps some of those springs go across that road. I don't know, it's possible. But it looks to me like on the contour lines, that everything's going down to that culvert and that swale, and it goes, as I'm looking at it, to the right of where the house is proposed and continues down to the pond and then further down towards Maple Lane.
Yeah, not all of it does. Some of it settles in the fields in between lot 3 and where the barns are.
And it also settles around the well, that second well that they have on lot 1.
This flag lot, is that something that's being,
It's not a flag lot.
there's the revised plan, lot 4, flag lot, approximately 46.4 acres.
large parcel on the.
Oh, the large lot 4,
The remainder parcel.
the remainder parcel.
What entry, what utility, how's that even possible to have a flag lot?
What's your question?
Lot 4?
Yeah, what's your question?
My question is a flag lot also being considered as part of this subdivision?
Dave, did we categorize lot 4 as a flag lot? I don't believe so.
It says project narrative revised April 28, 2026.
Did we categorize lot
We were
4?
waiting for more information on this, right? Because I don't know how to respond to that.
Okay, all right. I don't know how to respond to that because we're still waiting for information. We're still waiting for information.
This was found on the website though,
Okay.
letting you know.
There were revisions made in late April, is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, April
Yes.
28th.
So this is the first meeting the board's had since then.
And
Okay,
I don't,
we're done. We're done for the night.
Okay, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
What?
I wanted to bring that to you.
You did. Okay. We're done for the night.
we are gonna discuss.
there's a couple of things.
And when
Do
will
we
you
want,
bring-
you know what? We're not done for the night. We're not done for the night. The board is gonna discuss it, and if you wanna hang around, that's fine.
You don't know if it'll be on the agenda, right? When will you know?
I don't know. I don't know when we're gonna know.
Okay, fair enough.
Okay. Would you take your discussion outside or sit down, please? The board's gonna discuss the project.
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Don't go.
Okay, so the board, comments?
I think they just, a few of mine in sort of the responses, about the fire department highway referral. I think the public hearing should be definitely kept open until, we know more information, see a substantial information. We're still missing, I had some notes before the meeting, we're still missing the, SHPO and waiver requests. So,
Yeah, Michael, I'm sorry Bill isn't here.
yeah,
But in the last post-meeting letter that we sent, there was a host of things that we had talked about at the last meeting that the project was here. And we asked for, we told them to go to the highway department, get us a letter as to site distance and adequacy of where the driveways are gonna be.
yeah,
We asked them also to go to the fire department. They got similar information.
yeah.
Having to do with fire fighting. We asked that if you submit it to SHPO,
Yep.
and we don't have it back. And there was one more item, but tell Bill to read the post.
We had to update various narrative,
Yeah.
the secret form.
So tell Bill to to read the post-meeting letter,
Okay.
and we don't have the information. In fact, one could say that this public hearing maybe was done a little bit too early. We didn't get the information in time for the public hearing,
Okay.
and yet we decided to go forward with the public hearing. You get stuck with.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of information that Bill owes us,
Okay.
all right?
The prime soil waiver was one of them too. I think I saw.
The soil waiver,
Two waivers they need.
yeah, we needed that too.
There's another,
Go ahead, Bill, Dave.
well. It's in an agricultural district contiguous to a farm operation. So as we noted. Whenever I wrote this, early this year, notification has to go to any. The ag
Operation.
data statement's supposed to list all the farm operators' names and addresses. And a notification that has to follow the state regulations has to go to all those farm operators. Within 500 feet. I don't know if that,
I
have
don't
you
think
seen
it-
that?
I don't think it ever went
I
out,
don't think so.
all right,
No, it did not.
I don't know what happened with the public hearing, but notice, but. That's a state requirement because of the. Property setting in the agricultural district, the county certified agricultural district.
do you remember how many letters we mailed out to notified residents? So can you,
Count and tell you.
will you find out? Other comments?
I have a comment not associated specifically to this project, but one thing that I have noticed in the town of New Paltz is when there are properties that are being subdivided or having some kind of an action, they are posted with specific signs, so when you're driving, you can see it. This is not for our board, but it might be something to discuss with the town board. Because then, you know, you see, like in New Paltz, I think they're pink.
Yeah.
There are people
Yeah.
that are pink or
Yeah.
yeah, so when you're driving, you go, oh, we have a project will be here, so, I mean, it's just more information, it's just, you know, public facing.
Okay.
Might be something that the town may want to know.
Other comments?
I wonder, given some of the concerns about, I know we're gonna send this to the highway department, but given some of the concerns about site distance. Would it maybe make sense to ask them to combine the drives for lots 3 and 4? And do a shared driveway instead of 2 per place there? So then we could go with the whole project to 2 total good cuts instead of 3.
That would depend on the actual, reviewing it in play, you know. That would depend on reviewing it on site. Make sure that was actually improving, you know, improving.
Site.
Yeah.
They're fairly close.
I mean,
other-
Jen, I don't disagree. I don't know what it does. But I don't
It
disagree.
reduces traffic conflict. It's a well-known concept. You try to combine.
Try to combine them.
Because, you know, everybody comes out at the same time, whether it's for the school bus or to go to work. It's still a rural road, but it's a standard planning design concept to try to combine driveways where possible.
Does the board want to ask them to do that? Combine the
Well, we
driveways
need
with,
the highway superintendent's feedback first, right?
Yeah.
well, we do.
And I wouldn't wanna suggest that just by looking at the drawing. Needs to be considered.
Mike, I want you to ask Eggers to consider combining the driveways. We'll get the highway superintendent input. Want to hear from Eggers what he thinks. Maybe there's I don't know what the contour is right there. I don't know whether it means more cutting. I don't know.
This was
Yeah.
revised as of April 4th. And it has on the legend wetlands.
Yeah.
But I can't see it on the map and it usually.
Way in the back.
It's the ponds or close to the property line.
Yeah.
Off of lot 4.
The symbol on the legend for wetlands is like little plants. And there's no like spout, usually we see
Oh,
a
well,
boundary,
you know,
it's
what do you
it's
want?
not on the map, so if we get a wetland boundary,
You would, they'll come in.
that would be good.
Does anybody have any sense that we ought to do something, have them hire an ecological firm to assess the impact of what's being done here to the ecology of this land? Question mark. Listening to all the comments about the springs. I mean, there's no trees coming down. That full treated area in the back to the left is being preserved. What we heard was lots of springs. And we also heard about the wells. Depending upon what we get from the local people in terms of their wells, Dave, we'd have to look at the well logs like we did with that other project.
I could certainly look at the logs that are
We can
available.
start
that
looking at them now.
People submit.
Um,
I mean, there are the conditions. I forgot the name of the small subdivision that. On Ridgeview with it,
Nickenberg.
that you put some conditions on approval, right?
We did put conditions on the approval, but we didn't do a hydrogeologic study because it was one house going in. Does this get to the point, depending upon what the well logs are,
Well, your
with
code says it's a residential project's gonna use,
2,000?
including subdivision, 2,000 gallons per day on average over 30 days. You can require a hydrogeological study.
And if, when we go,
Can you request one short of that? Probably.
You know, there's also that well on lot,
lot 1,
we could do a pump test. See what it produces. See, figure out how deep it is, see what it produces, it's already
that
been
was,
drilled.
yeah. We could
That
ask.
second well you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did look,
Did,
I skimmed the well logs while we were talking, and there's a range in that. I mean, it's a pretty big area, because this is a big lot. And there's a range of the well logs. Some of them, there was one house I found that was 1 to 2 gallons per minute, which is very low. And there was another house with 15 gallons per minute, so it's a wide range.
and was it topsy-turvy? The one with 12 was
It looks
very,
geographic.
very deep, and the one with 1 and 2 was shallow. What
I
was,
have to go back and look, but depth doesn't always mean something when you talk about geology, so. Deeper isn't always better in a salinity.
Depends on what the-
Yeah, but I'd like to hear from the public, because some of these logs go back to 20 years. And things could be different now, so,
Well, that requirement was only in place 20 years ago.
yeah, a lot of.
So
them
any
like-
logs before that were wild card.
Yeah, and some.
And even, I know Jimmy Wild, know a lot of drillers, so I'm a geologist by training. Even the well drillers are fickle in terms of meeting the state requirement. So it's gonna be anecdotal to some degree. But if you find enough information that says we need to look more closely,
It's just a range, and so we heard a lot from the public tonight. I'd be curious to know if where they're having issues, it aligns with the well logs that have lower, so it
Yeah,
could
I
be
agree with that.
geographic.
I think that's a good first step to listen to what the neighbours have as information, and then we could. I don't know if Greg is the right person to ask his advice as well, or
Sure.
something can, but then, you know, build on that.
Yeah,
on that information.
the project, the Mickenberg project, again, we didn't do anything because it was one house.
Yeah.
But we had developed the idea that in spite of one house would not be appropriate, but 2, 3, 4 houses, if the surrounding well logs show that there was it was a low yield area and that there were issues, we said the way that we could get around it, regardless of what the code says, the 2,000 gallons per day over a 30-day period, I think that's what it says. The way to get around that was to go through the seeker process more rigorously. And for the water, at least, require a hydrogeologic study as part of the seeker process.
Fair enough.
Because we haven't gone through, we have a seeker short form,
That's all you got,
and you told them they had to redo it. I think we told them they had to redo it.
which they've submitted.
Okay, so we could look at that, and depending what the well logs tell us, we could wind up asking for a more thorough study based upon the information that we heard tonight.
And given that there's already a well on site,
Sorry?
Yeah.
given that there's already a well on site, it's
Yeah.
pretty easy to do a pump test.
Hopefully
If
it's
you want
still,
Greg to
it's still
help.
operable.
Well, fair.
Yeah,
true.
but.
Well, the 2 wells, this one.
Let's be optimistic.
Yes, well, you can do both, right?
Well, you're talking about the well that originally was on the was on a different parcel, and they
Yeah.
asked that the map be redone.
That property actually has 2 wells, one for the house and then one
Right.
for that.
Yes.
Right, okay.
So you can do both.
What about the ecological study?
When were we out there? It was before spring, right?
We went there in March, early March.
Because you usually want to go out when everything is growing, so you can see what kind of habitat and stuff. I mean, given that it's farmed land, I don't know if you're gonna see a lot of wetland plants, et cetera, because it's not.
They've all been extirpated.
Yeah. I don't know what you'll get.
Okay.
Elena?
My only concern is it's not connected to the stream, but where the road goes over that culvert.
Yeah.
That is the headwaters for a class A parens TS trout spawning stream. But it's off, it's not on the map, it's just a little bit. So if this does go forward with that driveway, we need to ensure that.
Well, that was an intermittent stream. The one you're
Look on the
talking,
DEC mapper. It kind of starts more on.
the one that goes into that culvert,
property.
the one that goes in the under the
Yeah,
culvert.
and then, but that's right after that, as you get into Rabbin's property, then it shows up on the DEC resource mapper and it is designated a class A trout spawning stream. So if we do go for, with this, we need to ensure we have conditions as far as sediment, water quality, et cetera.
Wait a minute, if it's a class A trout spawning stream.
We're nowhere near it, though,
What do you
but it's
mean?
close. I mean, I'd have to show you.
She's saying it's downstream of the site.
It's just, it begins
Culvert is over
downstream of
here.
the site.
The stream that she's talking about is down that way.
Yeah,
So the culvert doesn't contain the stream.
no,
Oh, okay.
but it's the very headwaters of it, so we should put
So
in.
the culvert
The way-
has something carries a conveyance that goes to the stream.
Correct, I think. I'd have to
And so
go
the
back
culvert-
out there. I'm just looking at the maps because Bonnie had mentioned there was a classified street. and it
Is the
didn't
thing
show
that
up.
the culvert is conveying rated sea trout, I guess?
No, where that culvert is, it's not rated. There's nothing
Okay,
rated.
all right. Never mind.
If it was, I would have brought that up. But I'm just saying, we need water quality condition, if this goes forward,
Sounds
when
like
it
it-
does, water quality conditions, et cetera.
DEC has to, if we need a DEC permit, DEC is an involved agency.
Yeah, no, there's no DEC permit, I'm just saying water quality,
Okay.
stormwater, construction.
Okay.
Um,
Do we need a SWIP?
That was my question.
if there's, for a disturbance of an acre or more, so that would be up to.
But that road, the road is really long.
And the road is really long,
So
I mean,
they-
I haven't scaled it at the moment, but
So that would be something to get from
from Barrett, yeah, from
Bill.
Bill.
So
Well,
Mike,
you've got a.
if it's between 1 and 5 acres.
Yeah.
You need a SWIP. And if it's 0.95 acres, we're gonna do a SWIP anyway,
Okay, sounds good.
so let's not play that game.
Well, just because they're close to, a significant resource.
Yep.
All right, so Mike,
Rick, you've got
Yeah.
so you've got 3 new house lots, each has a septic and reserve area.
Right.
Between those and the driveway alone, you're at probably an acre.
I would say so, yeah. That driveway alone is at least 1,000 feet
Yeah, so it's 1,000 feet divided
by 18.
by, how wide is the 18?
18 or 16.
Make it 20.
1,000 feet plus 5, plus 6
I mean, you're
septic systems.
Well, I'll let you guys.
at
calculate
a
that.
half acre on just that driveway.
And a half on the septic system.
So it looks to us, you're gonna have to do a SWIP. All right. So we peppered you with 5 or 6 things. You wanna read them back to us?
I got the fire department, highway response, the SHPO submission, update the narrative for the secret form, prime soil waiver. And the SWIP, talk about the SWIP and everything.
The SWIP.
And I guess we're still waiting kind of on, for, there's a hydrological study, but that'll be on. Not on us.
Well, that's up in the air until we get information from the locals.
Okay. Did I miss any?
Did you mention?
Oh, I got the.
Wetland buffer?
Yeah, or wetland buffer and update the wetlands, actual.
And combining the entries?
Yep.
Yep.
Talk to Bill about the shared driveway.
Good.
Yeah.
Great.
Anybody else?
I think it's good that we continue the public hearing and we're looking forward to get the information from the public and we're glad that you're here, so. I
make-
glad that we have this.
Mike, given the amount,
I
the
make
number of.
motion to keep a
hang on.
public hearing.
Yeah.
I think we already.
No, we already did it.
Okay.
I continued it. We don't need a motion for that.
Okay.
Mike, it's unlikely that this will be on the June agenda,
Okay.
because there's a lot of work here,
Okay.
but the June agenda is already.
Yeah.
Filled, so it'll be the end of June at earliest.
Okay. Alright.
And I think the biggest thing, some of the stuff we talked about is just paperwork that we're still waiting for.
Okay.
The biggest thing is gonna be whether we do the hydrogeologic study or not.
Okay.
And I think the board, depending upon what we get, is leaning towards, we're gonna ask you to do it.
Okay.
Did the DEC walk the property to identify?
We did walk the property.
They did?
DC, you're talking.
No,
Right.
easy.
Oh, did you say?
If you look at the resource mapper,
Oh.
there's wetlands and all around it.
Yeah.
But not in the areas that are proposed.
Sorry, the DEC doesn't walk.
We'll ask periodically, they need
Hi.
wetland based on actual assessment of the property, don't we?
If the DEC is not gonna walk this because we asked them to walk it. If we thought there was a major issue, that's why I was asking about getting an ecological firm to get in there. But the DEC has all they can do to keep up with what they keep up with, which is not,
Yeah, I know that.
so they're not gonna. They're gonna look at it and look at the map and say, we already marked it, what do you want us to walk it for?
So the
Okay.
whole response is to keep looking on the map. I thought that because of new law, we have to prove that there is a wetland or more than this on the map.
No, the new rule. It's complicated.
But
There's no maps anymore, in simple terms.
Right.
Maps are purely advisory.
Right.
You have to seek a determination from the DEC, who use the maps and if necessary field work. And whatever else they need to do to determine if there's wetland on your property. And if they determine there's wetland on your property, then the question is what you're proposing to do gonna impact the wetland? And they'll put that in writing on request.
And Julian, based upon, they did identify, the applicant did identify the wetlands, they didn't walk it very well, but they identified the wetlands. Just walking across the field. And getting your boots wet doesn't mean that it's a wetland. You know, there are 3 different things that impact the wetlands, the presence of some sort of. Standing water, plants, and soil. Mike, I'm leaning towards, I think. I'm leaning towards that you're gonna need to get somebody in there and do an ecological survey. On the issue of. I guess we'll wait for the SWIP to see, where the water is going. But this issue of whether or not there are additional wetlands here. You need to get back to us on that.
Yeah.
The board's gonna have to, and I've dealt with this in a different town. Dave's comment didn't allude to what I think most people know, which is that the wetland regulations for the new procedures have been, amended by the courts.
Yeah.
And it's very possible DEC is gonna reinstate them, because they weren't found effective themselves. It was a process that they were adopted by that was found effective, especially because the DEC didn't do, according to the court, enough of a secret analysis on it. So we can all speculate as to what's going to happen. But until it does happen, at present, there are no regulations. That's the current state of affairs. So the process by which a DEC and an applicant might determine whether or not there are DEC state wetlands does not exist at this time. And so for purposes of secret review, the board is going to have to essentially invent its own process. At least the way I read it. I don't know what guidance is coming from the state on this informally since the annulment, which was only about a month ago. But that's where I'm at, is it's a secret issue. Who knows whether it's a regulatory issue? Nobody's, the laws, the statute is still in place, the regs are not in place. It's definitely a secret issue, so it's an issue for us, so we're just gonna have to. I mean, I don't think the EC's even gonna do anything in terms of sending somebody out there. I'm not sure what they're thinking, and I don't know if we can rely on them or not. So I just want to point out to the board that how we tackle the issues is at this point going to be without, in my view, and I hope I'm wrong, guidance from DEC.
So that would indicate getting our own study in there.
Yeah.
Bruce Barber or somebody.
Did Jagger, did you ask applicant to do that? Did Jagger? Did the work?
We had Bruce Barber go in there. We can have Bruce Barber, this is right up his alley, to identify additional wetlands that may have been missed.
Yeah.
Well, you have a jurisdictional letter from DEC that I don't know was submitted for this property from July of last year. For some reason, the attached map to the DEC review is not loaded in. So we need to get the map.
That's
You got the letter, it refers to an attached map, and maybe you have, it's probably just an oversight.
Okay.
If we could just see that map, they call out a single wetland.
That's what's shown.
Well, that's probably the wetland that's on the map.
Yeah.
There, if you go.
So they made a determination. If there are other wetlands, that may well be, but there's no agency that's identified it as a wetland.
So you're saying that it would not be useful for us to have Bruce Barber go out there?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying your code says wetlands are those that identified by public agencies.
But this is not a code issue. This is a secret issue.
Dave?
I'm just pointing out the fact that finding more wetland.
Right, no, but on the.
Go ahead, we just thought,
the
wait a minute,
resource
finding
map,
more
you're gonna
wetlands
say-
won't make a difference? Is that what you're gonna say?
It will have to be treated differently in your rules. Because it's not nor the Army Corps, nor DEC, nor the county. You know the wetlands that are identified on the property. It's the one determined jurisdictionally by DEC at this point. We need to get the map and get it mapped in the field.
Okay.
For
there-
sure.
On the environmental resource mapper that I'm looking at right now, there is in purple, it's informational freshwater wetland mapping. And it does go into parts of property.
Well, the determination letter says if the proposed project's gonna be
Right.
in or contiguous to the wetland, you have to continue staying in contact with the DEC. So that's the question you have to ask.
So you recommend
Is
that,
this project going to be near or in the wetland?
Yeah, but you've got to identify where the wetland is before you.
Correct.
all right,
We don't have the map for some reason.
all right, Mike, we need that map.
Okay.
Okay,
Although it is indicated on the.
it's indicated on the map.
Yeah.
No,
All right, anything else from the board? All right, that's it for this.
I found agriculture letter listing two farms within 500 feet. So those people were identified, no, so they submitted that letter in
Right, so
in
those,
December.
those people are supposed to get a written notification.
Yes, that's what I'm essentially.
They got a written notification if they were within 500 feet.
So who sent it? Whoever
Stacy
sent.
takes care of it. All right, we're done with this project. You got a lot of work to do.
Alright, sound good.
Aren't you
Okay,
glad you came tonight?
Yeah.
That off tonight, you know?
Thank you.
no, we don't. It's online. If everybody, it's online.
Look again.
That's Sean Rick.
They emailed me.
I'll call you if
If you wanna, if you wanna email Stacy, she can send you.
I can send you a link to where it is.
So my son.
I know, I'm like, I said.
Davis expressed the same. Needs to be fixed.
This needs to be.
Yeah.
Well.
But it's not fixed.
And it entails a different vision than we say we're just sending them away the whole. Probably higher emphasis on the agricultural restrictions, so I want to talk about it. I think that. Well, so.
Unofficially.
Okay, let's get going. Dave? Dave Church?
He's helping the public.
Take a moment while he helps us out.
And you've got 3 people running to the bathroom too.
So we only have 2 bathrooms.
There's 3.
So that's how we. And then there's. Skip off. State Historic Preservation Act, which is what we do. It always makes me crazy. But they can see this.
Yes, so look at it.
I mean, I think they're doing a little bit, I don't remember that being on that map when I looked at it.
Yeah, it's you.
We have our 2 people killed.
We didn't get past that page on the musical.
Oh.
You, when
All the ladies.
Why not?
I would be honored to be there.
Thank you, good.
Thank you.
Well, that was fun.
It's usually June.
We're just waiting for
15 minutes.
our attorney and one of the members of the board.
Oh my God.
I didn't expect that with this project.
Here, I'm having. A moment.
It's a long 15 minutes.
It's the same group that was here for
Jen,
that
Jillian.
animal
Wayward.
hospital. Wayward land 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Before my time.
Huh?
Before my time. Let me take this mention.
Pre-COVID.
Jill.
Pre-COVID, it was.
Did you
2000.
Was it pre-COVID?
Yeah.
Huh?
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
That, did you?
My recollection was.
And never happened. That project never happened.
No, they spent a lot of money.
Very interesting times.
All right.
Oh, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Hans was hoping for daylight still.
Did he voice it? Did he say it out loud?
He did.
Is that
think he was
the
waiting.
fastest
He
way
was
to
hoping for
change
the
that?
pitch to still be
Cannot
up.
say it out loud.
Oh, no, close enough.
Don't wait on the door.
He's putting his dinner order in.
Yeah. Yeah, he can't give us.
You won't be able to pick it up until tomorrow.
It's like, I want a hamburger.
Yeah.
You get out on the specifics that you're supposed to do. Oh, yeah. It's post meeting, right? No, the first. I was in this one. This was all.
Oh, for one part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, no, not first. I'm not talking about first.
I will.
I think we're back in the old editors.
Okay. All right, talk to us. Why don't you introduce the new people here? I hope one of them is an engineer, because we'd like to talk to an engineer that can tell us about the engineering, because up to now. It's nice to talk to you, but.
I think we have the right people to answer any question.
Okay, so what did you tell us who they are?
So myself again, Michael Klein, we have Brian Cheryl, our senior vice president of operations, and he was here last meeting. Kevin Matthews, he is our head of electrification. He is in place of Ami, who was here with us last time. And
Tom Tryon, I'm the director of facilities for the school district. Thanks for having me.
I'm trying.
How do you spell that?
TRYON.
Got that?
So, I guess, how do you want to move forward?
Have you got anything to say? This is like,
Say that.
have you got anything to say that you wanna update us on?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, I know we might have had one or two new folks here, but obviously, I think last time was kind of a good amount of time with the kind of the backdrop and the why and the deliverable and all that stuff. So we were assuming at this point, yeah, we could go back over some of that. We were assuming you probably wanted to dig right in.
We want no more fluff.
Yeah, gotcha. Well, fluff. I would, yeah.
I'm
fluff.
sorry, I'm wound up.
I
want no more.
I would do this though, not to wind you up anymore though, $10 million of federal funding
the banana.
for the school district.
I want no more fluff.
Characterize as fluff, but I won't,
If Jen was here, I would say it. If Spadaro was here, I would say it. I already told him it was fluff. And we had a nice discussion about now we need to get things done.
Yep.
And the only way to get things done is to get answers from you guys. So, in going through, does the board, anybody from the board want to start, have questions?
Well, first off,
Go
Rick,
ahead.
we have submitted, I believe, 4 packets of safety information, or safety plan, and Kevin, do you want to go over the documentation that we submitted?
I mean, I'm happy to answer questions about it too.
Why don't we do that?
It's a pretty comprehensive, plan that, we put forward, so not a lot of that here, let me get right back to.
Why don't you just respond to questions? I know
Okay,
the
that's
board
fair.
has
That's what we think.
quite a number of questions. All right, so, a couple of things. I went through the maps in detail, with my measurement stick and my pica stick and everything else to measure. What it appears to me is that the buses are gonna be 4 feet between each one of them. Somebody last time said between 4 and 6. I don't see that as 4. I don't care one way or the other in a sense, but it looks like it's 4.2, something like that, which is between 4 and 6, but it's not anywhere near 6, so it's 4 or 4.2 between the buses. I'm gonna make a bunch of statements. I want you to correct me where I'm wrong. The buses are 10 feet wide. Each of the buses is 10 feet. You have 4 feet in between them. you're gonna put 20 buses up against one side and 20 against the other, so the back side's gonna have 20. And as you go in, to the pen, let's say, I'm sorry, you got 10 and you got another 10 on the right-hand side. That entire fence where the gate is, that's perpendicular to 209, that's gotta go, right? You're gonna have to enclose the entire area that comes up to the building. And so the ability for any kind of buses or cars or anything else to go completely around the building and enter or exit at either one of the entrances or exits will no longer be there because it's all gonna be buses enclosed and lead fence. Is that true? I'm looking at C1 and C2.
Correct. That fence, that existing fence will be removed.
It's gonna be removed. You're gonna put up another fence?
We did not have any intention to add an additional fence.
So you're not gonna fence the buses in?
I don't believe so. Yeah, we have that.
So that's a no.
That's a no.
Okay, okay. So that goes. Even though the plan shows that it's still,
The new plan?
Are you on C1?
C1, since that's.
To be relocated if required.
Well. To be relocated, meaning that has to be removed completely due to the fact that that is our space for if a bus were to ever catch fire, that's our area or burning.
Well,
Okay.
make a note on.
So
that.
we'll change that note on there to be removed.
all right, and identify that area as the potential area for burning bus, something appropriate.
You mentioned on 40 by 10, where's the area 40 by 10? In your description.
Say that.
The 40 by 10
40 by
isolation
10,
area.
where's the area?
The 40 by 10 is the parking stall itself. 40 by 10.
No, you're saying particular areas where you're gonna move the bus.
Isolation area.
Yeah, isolation area, where is that on the plan?
It's just this big open area. It's not indicated yet, but now that.
You need to have
you
it on there.
want us to put that, we'll put that on.
Everything's gotta be on the map.
Description you're saying is what it's.
Right, it's not a map.
Correct.
Something important with this, what did you call it? The burning area, what did you call it?
What's an isolation
The
area?
isolation area, right? And so looking at the NYSERDA website, et cetera, so I don't know how you suppress EV fires, et cetera. And it is with water and it is with copious amounts of water. And what that says to me, especially since you're in the aquifer protection air district, is I don't know if we need containment or something, you know,
Well, you need to tell us how you're gonna deal with a fire. Are you letting it burn out?
Off from the fire,
Well,
my concern.
Are they letting it burn out or are they gonna fight it with water? And when you identify what you're gonna do, you then gotta get the fire department, I'm pointing towards Peter and I shouldn't. He's a member of the planning board and also the fire department, but when you identify how you're gonna fight the fire, you then need to put that in writing so that we can send it to the fire company to say, what are your comments about that? If it's, Helena is 100% right, if you're gonna try to dump tens of thousands of gallons of water on this bus, it's gonna run off somewhere and it's gonna run off into the aquifer. If you're not going to dump tens of thousands of gallons of water, because that's what I'm told the fire department would need to put it out, which they don't have, by the way, they'd have to truck it all in. If you're gonna let it burn out, then you need to identify that as a process that you're gonna follow. And you need to cite some experts that say that this is the best way to fight a fire in this area with no water and with an aquifer protection zone. And we're gonna need to get that confirmed, verified, agreed to, commented on certainly by the fire department.
Gotcha, I believe.
Can I comment, please?
Specifically on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
We need to clearly state what kind of battery you use, because you have a conflicting information in your safety documents. You're saying lithium ion batteries, which is really hard to suppress. And in all the documentation, other documentation, you're specifying lithium iron phosphate, which is less prone to fire.
It's the lithium iron phosphate.
Right.
Yeah.
And what I read on the internet, they're much less prone to fire.
Correct.
So
Well,
maybe
it's-
that's lithium ion is not really issues here.
Which kind of battery are you using? Lithium ion or
Well, the
lithium iron
manufacturer
phosphate?
uses.
Right, but you need to
It's the
somewhere.
one the manufacturer uses.
What is that?
Lithium iron phosphate batteries.
Lithium iron phosphate,
Mhm.
iron phosphate.
But it has to be stated clearly somewhere.
All right, so your documentation, the 4 documents that we're gonna go through, and at least one of them, Zorian went through them all, at least one of them, maybe 2 of them, you have conflicted information.
Yep.
In some of the documents, it says lithium iron phosphate, and others it says lithium ion,
Your
ION.
safety document, please,
So-
we can make
I'll go back and check.
wherever was.
We'll
the
get it
safety
straight, yeah.
document.
Okay, so
Gotcha. I think your other question though, Rick, was, I think as we talked last time, yes, the plan would be we leverage. And I think we talked a little bit, frankly, and jump in here about misstating this, right? We have a lot of these early warning systems that'll signify anytime a battery is in trouble.
I'm gonna get there in a second.
Okay, gotcha.
Why don't you address how you're gonna fight the
Yes,
fire
so
first?
the plan would be if we see something like that, we use the isolation thing, but yes. If we do have a fire, there's no intention of us trying to put it out with water. Our plan would be separate and isolate. And
All right,
that's it.
and I sent you a note, Mike, I sent you a note at some point, it was this week. Well, maybe it was before, I said, fighting a fire by isolating the bus, by pulling the burning bus out is kind of ridiculous.
Who said that?
I said that to you.
Okay,
Do you have a comment about that? Who's gonna drive the bus or who's gonna go in there and
well,
pull the bus out?
that's where the detection system comes in, and Kevin.
Yeah, so-
Can speak on that.
Yeah, so. There are 2 detection systems on the bus, around thermal incidents related to the high voltage system. One is built into the bus itself, so it monitors the battery 24/7, 365. Any type of thermal event is noted on the dashboard as well into the maintenance system that the team sees here locally. It goes all the way to the manufacturer as well. The studies we have as we've gone through bus fires to date, and none of them, by the way, have been school bus fire. There's no indication that a school bus fire has ever had a battery or high voltage fire. Those have been related to transit buses, totally different architecture, totally different manufacturing process. But we've been through those, and every single incident you have, when that indication that there was a thermal event occurring, it took a minimum of 12 hours and an average of 18 hours before the bus actually caught fire. So that's why we create these isolation areas at every one of our deployments. This isn't unique to Rondout. This is not unique at all. This is a part of our plan. So as soon as that battery indicator goes off, that bus is put in that isolation area right away. We disconnect the high voltage system. We depower the bus. We try to minimize anything else going on. Then we bring in our high voltage mechanics to begin to work, to repair, to minimize the chance that there will be any other fire associated with there as well. So that's why this is all, the whole goal is never to have to pull a burning bus out. The bus will be isolated at the first instant that there'll ever be any type of thermal event related to that battery. We have 10 million miles of operations, 479 electric buses running in our fleet. We've never had that light go off. We've never had to use that isolation area, but we're prepared and a plan to do that should the unlikely event it ever occur.
All right, so let me just go back to the beginning. You're charging the bus at night.
Right.
You're probably charging these buses twice a day, right? You're gonna charge
It
them.
all depends. There are a variety of different factors on when we will charge and how we will charge.
Well, it depends upon what your runs are, right? How long your run is.
There's running, if
It
we have
depends on-
continuing stuff we have to do as well. We
depending on
also
whether
try to
the
avoid
winter
demand
time-
Charges associated with utility rates. If we can
Depends on
take
whether it's-
advantage of a utility program to lower the rate, we do those things as well.
It depends on whether it's the winter time. The winter time, you have to keep the buses at a certain temperature for the kids. So you may have to come back after one run and may have to recharge the bus. But let's say that you're charging these buses on average twice a day. Each bus is gonna get charged twice a day, depending upon the run, depending upon how you're using it. When you're charging that bus, slow charge, fast charge, or whatever, are you telling me that if that battery begins to overheat beyond a certain point, it automatically disconnects as the first level of safety feature?
What will happen in that situation is you get the indicator warning that there's a light.
Does it
We have a-
disconnect?
It does not disconnect,
Why not?
but we have a second system that we put on top of that, a charge management system. In this case, it's provided by Ant Control, a company we've gone into with They constantly
Is
monitor.
that ABB? Also,
AMP, Alpha Mary Papa, amp control. As soon as there is a charging event, that then stops the charging. Notifies back to the location manager here at the area, others associated with the maintenance fleet as well, that a charging event has been disrupted. That could be for any number of reasons, but we're notified for that. So in fact, if a student breaks onto the site and decides they don't want to go to school the next day and unplugs all the buses for charging, we're notified. Anything that disrupts that charging process is notified and we respond to it because we don't know what it is in that particular situation.
Is
but we know-
overheating-
We
is
know an
overheating-
event that could keep us from running the buses the next.
is
day.
overheating one of the events that causes it to stop?
What's that?
Is overheating of the battery one of the
Yes,
events?
it disrupts the charging cycle, yes.
Okay, where does the notice go?
Right now it goes to the location and the
Who's
say, and the maintenance manager at the location,
At this location?
at this location.
It doesn't go to Cincinnati, it doesn't go to.
I mean, it does,
Jersey?
it comes in a variety of different places. We have different levels. of
Yeah.
I don't want to get notified of every single charging incident. We make sure the local, because I'm in Cincinnati, how can I respond? We want to make sure. the
Local is always on it, and then we can set up a matrix, like to Kevin's point, he doesn't see every time. There's a charge incident, but the local location would fairly.
So when that happens, you get that charge, incident report, whatever, that's when the bus gets moved out?
That's what we.
If, yes, as soon as we would investigate what happened. If it's somebody unplugging the bus, no, we're not gonna move the bus because of that. If we get on the bus, pull the logs and it says there is a thermal event detected, yes, we will then pull the bus out and move it to the isolation area.
Dave?
Are these protocols that your company have put into place, or are they part of, like a national regulatory?
No, this is our approach to how we do this. We go above and beyond.
Yeah, I was gonna say, our approach is based on all the industry and national standards, and then we add in. We added frankly that's our philosophy on anything safety related, take the regulation.
Okay, so
Student part.
your first name again is?
Kevin.
Kevin, thought it was, but I didn't. What you just went through, I don't know that I've seen, has anybody seen that in writing?
I was gonna suggest, that's important to put in your narrative.
Okay.
You got it, that whole thing, and boil it down from eye level, which from an electrical point of view is pretty low. All right, so don't use a whole bunch of crazy terms,
No,
but make it digestible by.
Yeah.
Okay. And you did say lithium iron phosphate batteries.
I'm gonna go back and check. The promises these are ICs, they may have the ion, I have to double check.
Because the manufacturer that you identified, I believe, only puts Gillick.
No,
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 not
no,
in
Gillick,
Gillick.
no,
Gillick's
no,
a trained
Gillick
bus
is a
manufacturer.
county, Gillick is a county.
Okay.
It's a IC.
Gillick's a
These
transit.
are IC, which is a division of Daimler, a division of international.
International
Manufacturing and
Focus.
So far, all the documentation you submitted, all the documentation about safety you submitted using IC.
I see, yes, so they provide us with the first responder
You-
manuals,
Everywhere you list in,
I see,
no, on the document where you mention an IC, you list in lithium iron phosphate.
okay.
And I
So-
wasn't able to find on manufacturing side any
I will double
explicit
check.
statement what kind of battery they use.
Yeah.
But those buses seem to like 2026 brand new model.
Yeah,
And
yeah, we'll get that.
I actually sent the email to IC, just curious.
And the information that you provided in terms of the number of incidents across X number of buses, electric buses,
Mhm.
that would be important to have in this narrative.
Sure,
I want you to think in terms of, you gotta convince this board that we would all wanna ride on these buses or be sitting on the buses overnight while they're charging, and we wouldn't worry about it then. That's the level of information you need to give us. And it's not just this board, it's gonna be the public when they come to the public. hearing.
SOPs in place for a large company, you must have SOPs for this kind of stuff. I have to think you could pull from that and get us something tomorrow. I mean, I have to imagine.
Well, they gave us standard operating procedures, but none of what he just said was in them.
No.
No, there was nothing in there. Which was, look, it's a start, right? But what you just gave me makes me feel a little bit more comfortable from what I had originally read. In terms of the, what was called the standard operating procedures. It just told me if X happens, you pull it out here, you do this, you contact the fire department, you have an incident manager. That's great. What are your proportions before it gets to the level of an actual fire breaking out? What are the proportions you have in place? I think that's what this board wants to
Well,
know.
it should be specific for the town of Rochester. It should be
Exactly.
Nationwide, it should be contact.
Yeah,
the-
what you do in Cincinnati or anyplace else is wonderful, but this ain't Cincinnati.
I also would include any, when, in case you have a fire, what kind of fluids would get into the ground, because you cannot resolve fire, especially given this is the protection ground. So that's something I would describe that. Is that something which just evaporates, burns, or
Well, there are
it goes into?
very few liquids on an electric school bus. That's one of the big benefits, which reduces maintenance costs. So we drastically eliminate the number of liquids we have to maintain within the bus. What you'll see is standard automotive material, potentially melting in a fire and dropping off the bus.
So there are no cooling liquids.
There are minimal amount in the battery system itself, but not like you even have in a light duty automobile. That's one of the real reasons we are transitioning to electric, because of the reduced maintenance costs that we have to deal with, the better operating procedures underneath them. We did a significant risk assessment before we ever decided to go in to adding electric vehicles into our fleet. That risk assessment showed we were better off in every category that there is of operating school buses in North America, better off transitioning to electric than continuing with fossil fuel.
That would be something that.
But that's proprietary. I can't share that because that's proprietary, a business confidential case that we.
But
have in place.
general, if you.
We can generalize that, yeah, we can go in. And not only that, not that we did a global look at the risk assessment associated with transitioning to electric. We then do one at every specific location before we move forward. And then we do that with another step. There are 32 factors that we evaluate on every single route we run an electric school bus on. This is not something willy-nilly.
See,
This
would
is
be
a major
really-
transition in the
This would be
school
really
bus
good
industry.
stuff for us to know.
Yeah.
Instead of have to,
Exactly.
this is all like really important stuff.
Right.
To share with us and.
And it's not in the application materials
No,
that I
it's not.
saw.
And if
This is the first, Kevin, this is the first we're hearing of this. And I want to, Jen, just for a moment, you mentioned there's none of the liquids that are on a regular bus. You do cool all the batteries with a glycol mixture.
Yes, I said the battery coolant, there's a battery coolant
And
management
there's
system.
more of that in there than you would have in a diesel bus.
No, not necessarily.
Why?
Like much more, it's a much tighter packed system. That has a different type of cooling management system in it. You don't have the high volume pressure hoses. That you have to run through when you have a combustion engine. It's a self-contained pack. It's not even something you change. It is in there constantly, so we don't even have to go in and change it.
It's constantly circulating.
Right.
But when it burns,
It'll burn, yeah,
it's gonna burn.
yeah, but there's less of it than what we would have in a traditional fossil fuel bus.
How do you cool a diesel engine? With what? Water, right?
I'm not an ice expert, so.
You cool it with water. This is.
No, you cool it with any fridge type of.
Okay, so
If this is too.
this is hundreds of battery, well, all right, you're saying that glycol, whatever, is not gonna have any impact on the aquifer?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's less of it.
Okay,
That is antifreeze.
yeah. It is
Oh,
antifreeze.
Those glycols antifreeze.
Yeah. Do you have a plan in place as to what to do after the whole event is over? And to prevent leakage into, for example, an aquifer, there is an aquifer under this site. Do you have sites where you lay down a foot or two of clay to prevent any kind of seepage?
No, we've not done that at any of our other locations.
Well, we're gonna need an assessment of that because this is sitting right on top of an aquifer. You're gonna have to assess that for us. And everything that you're gonna send us, all this information, that's really good information, we're gonna have our engineer take a look at it as well.
You have who?
We're gonna have our engineer review it as well, but dealing with the aquifer or any runoff to the stream, which goes into a major river here, the Rondown, you're gonna have to indicate to us how you're gonna contain any of the runoff from.
Well, again, our solution is not to drop water, thousands of gallons of water.
I hear you, but this glycol, unless it burns off into the atmosphere, is gonna get into the soil.
My guess is that if we have a thermal event in the battery, it's probably gonna be gone. I'll look into that because that will burn at a very high temperature. But again, all the risk assessment shows that is the most minimal, low probability event within the operation of an electric school bus.
So we need proof of that.
I've got 10 million miles and not a single incident.
Well, so, yeah,
we needed it.
The whole industry.
We needed it running.
Two things though, one, and one clarifying question. So first of all, I think some feedback taken on this as we've gone through the safety stuff. We did a little bit of work to try to, I guess, tailor it. And I think feedback well taken that there's some more narrative that we didn't get in there for the specific plan. So I guess feedback well taken. We clean it up. The clarifying question I just did want to ask is, as we go through the differences between a diesel and an EV, I think what Kevin is saying is the EVs are gonna kind of win that battle on multiple fronts, on safety, on runoff. So is it really defining the differences and the potential different substance in an EV? As to what, or are we going back to, because I think one of the things we get tripped up on here a little bit is some of the questions we've been asked candidly are questions about any vehicle and diesel vehicles and so like I'm trying to specify what Kevin's saying is all those factors get better as you go to EVs.
Well, just like when you first came to us back in November of 24, we discovered that you had 45 buses, you had to go back to 20. So now that you're doing something entirely new to the site, we need to look at everything. Maybe we didn't look at what would happen if a diesel bus went on fire. We need to look at everything as a result of putting EV buses on this site. And if they were to burn, we want to know how you're going to handle whatever the residue is going to be. I'm not saying that you wouldn't have residue from diesel, but the fact that you did have residue from diesel and you have residue from EV, it's different residue, whatever, but it's a new application.
So we can differentiate.
It's a new special use. You need to tell us how you're going to deal with this special use that you're coming to us with. Just like we're going to ask you to redo the lighting, because right now the lighting is out of compliance with New York State dark sky laws. So the lighting is going to have to be redone.
I had a question on that, Rick.
Go ahead. Jen, I'm sorry, I'll come back to you. Go ahead.
Are you referring to the lighting on the whole site or just the lighting that was proposed?
The lighting on the whole site is.
So you're requiring a full upgrade of the lighting on the whole.
We need a tear sheet. We need another sheet, call it C15, C10, whatever.
Yep.
That shows us the lumens. And it's in our code, but you need to project the lumens out on the sheet for every X number of feet that's projected by the current lights and then the new lights. I don't care about the current lights. We know what it is. It's too bright. So you need to show us what you're going to do under the dark sky laws in New York State.
My assumption was the lighting that we were adding with these chargers was what you were referring to, but
No,
you were referring to the
everything.
entire site.
We're looking at a special use permit for the entire site. Jen, go ahead.
I will, before I say anything, I will largely defer to Peter because he's our fire rep, and so you know best. But in my day job, I work on the New York City water supply, and we have a lot of health and safety requirements, as you can imagine, especially if we're doing something with an aqueduct, right? And so when I think about this project, I think about things like standard operating procedures. I assume that you have that information showed us. And then at a certain point, your SOP pivots and it becomes, I'm going to use my terminology, which is an emergency action plan. So, and those are different things, right? And I don't know how you feel about that, but in my mind, the SOP is we monitor the batteries. These are our triggers. This is how it goes. And then the emergency action plan happens when you say, oh, we got to pull it out and put it somewhere, right? That's now we're getting into emergency territory. So it's helpful to understand very specifically all those steps, I think I'm echoing what Rick said, but then in addition, when I was looking at, some of the documents that you shared. And again, I want to know what you think about this, but like, for example, in one of the documents, it talked about how the front and the bottom of the bus can't be cut because they're batteries.
Right.
But what happens if there's a rollover event? So it's understanding, you'll need to know what happens if you show up on a site and it's snowy and bus rolls over. How do you get the kid, it's things like that. So I don't have answers to those questions, but I think, I would imagine that you guys would be looking for guidance on how to handle something like that. And I don't
Yeah, I
know.
mean, every, what we do in the fire department is, and appreciate the cut sheets, because that's something with the, do not cut below this line, because there are, lines in there that will kill people, and so if it ends up upside down or on its side or whatever, we go through training about where to cut vehicles, and knowing where that is a big question, especially on EVs, because it's different on every vehicle. So that's really important for us to know specifically for each vehicle, whether it's the first thing you pull up and it's like, is it an EV or not?
Yeah.
And how do you identify it? And so those are the things that we go through, every time. So, and with buses, they have top hatches, they have rear doors, they have emergency windows. So usually in an ideal world, one of those would be open. Getting 40 kids off is another story. And I hope I never see that. But that's another story. But there are, multiple points of access on a school bus by design.
And we do provide with the manufacturer annual training to the first responders. So they come to the location, or we'll bring the bus to their location, go through this. So if there's a new fire personnel that's joined in the last year, they receive that training. The manufacturer gives it, so they'll have their technical people there. This is just standard operating bus, because we need to know the fire departments and the first responders to know how to respond.
So Kevin, that also is
That's in
very,
writing. that's
Okay,
in-
just,
Well, but it wasn't specific, so
Okay.
maybe if there are documents, I don't, again, and I also wanna say that, I don't know about others here, but the way I think about this. Is that I don't feel like I need to sign off on the firefighting details. Because I feel like that's sort of its own thing, but more broadly, I wanna have confidence that you have everything. You know what I mean? That's sort of my position, because I'm not an emergency first responder, so I wouldn't be able to comment on it necessarily, but, so I'm not saying that I need you to provide me with your training manuals for your, for what for the firefighters, but I wanna have confidence that it exists and that,
Yeah, there are two scenarios that, speaking for myself, that, really kind of give me pause is, the idea that there's a charging incident and it's in the yard, that's one thing. If there's an accident on the road up on Cherrytown, that's another thing. That's a totally different scenario. And whether there are people on the bus or not is another, first question. Is the bus, we had an incident with the Round Up Valley bus this week, where there's just a driver on it. First question I asked, anybody else in the bus? Just a driver, okay. So those are the two scenarios, and each one is situation based, and we have, the fire department has protocols about how to approach that. The thing that, with the charging, that I think that, and I'm, this is really gonna be up to the district chief, Pat Davis, because he is the district chief. And, but the understanding what the protocols are for if there is a temperature alarm, where that happens. Does that happen on the road or does that happen on the site? If you send somebody to investigate what it is, did somebody unplug it and leave it unplugged? It should have been plugged in or interrupt the thing, or is it a thermal thing? And those are two different choices. Would you respond differently to each one of those? And then how would you respond to that? Would you automatically pull the bus out in the middle here, or would you pull the buses away from it? Around it, and find another place for them and not move it. That depends, because once the wheels move, it integrates to the charging, am I correct? So with the wheels moving on the bus could activate the motor, right? So the Because that's the way the wheels regenerative braking, as I understand it.
Well, the brakes had to be applied, but yeah.
Right, but to move, I mean, I'm just reading off of what I saw about vehicles being towed, they can't be towed with their wheels on the ground.
Right.
Right, so moving it is an issue, so understanding all of that, I'm not getting too specific here, but understanding all those scenarios. Not only for the fire department, but for the public is really important, because the public, is gonna have concerns about this, I know that. From what people have told me personally already. So getting ahead of the narrative is gonna be really important for this application, I think, to understand what the scenario is. And does, one question about pulling a bus out in the middle of the lot, if that happens in the middle of the day, what does that do for the rest of the bus operations? Does that interfere with everything? Is it has to sit there for 12 to 18 hours before something happens potentially? Is it sitting there, or is it moved somewhere else? Or what are, these are rhetorical questions, not asking for specifics right now, the stuff that is important for us to know. Who's gonna be the access to it? Is there gonna be a key holder that's gonna respond at first 2 o'clock in the morning? Is there gonna be somebody that's gonna go there, or is the fire department gonna have to make entry and assess for ourselves what is going on there? How do we move a bus if we need to move a bus? Do we move a bus? Those are all questions that are very specific that I think the fire department will wanna know. So.
And I'm guessing, Brian, that a lot of these things, because you've said you have many of these buses, 500 of them, I think you said, across the country. Did you get them, or did you?
No, I still
He's
don't
alive.
know.
He's headed.
Making his way towards Peter.
Spider.
Trying to ask you.
Just leave them.
I think he's going. over here.
I think he's going to you.
Go to you.
One of these things living in.
I know you have experience in this already, we probably have it. We just need to see evidence that that you presented to us. You saw what
Gotcha.
happened.
I think we may be struggling a little bit, so. The question of the on the road bus piece.
Yeah.
Very openly, I'm not sure how else to answer that, like, we've had this for a long, like. The same procedures for an EV, we do the same procedures for the diesel, they're in there. We immediately are gonna evacuate that bus, get our folks off, so I'm not, like, I don't know what else to provide for that, I guess is what I'm.
No, you don't need to provide anything else for that. Those are,
Okay.
I was just saying, those are two different scenarios that could involve a school bus. And I was trying to answer Jennifer's question about getting people off the bus. But there are two different ways, two different.
Of a flow chart type.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. And the other one, I just wanna, and the reason I was asking the other question is, and you said it, I mean. We could fill up every table here with 7-inch binders on bus operation procedures. So what I think we've been trying to do is differentiate. Here's what's different on the EV buses, and to be fair, I think we could have done that better in a couple of places you pointed out today, but that's why I'm asking the clarifying questions, because some of them were like, some of the questions were more the school busing in general, like, procedures and all that. So we're just trying to get our heads wrapped around how do we
So the-
differentiate that. And
The
kind of
best way
say-
to think through it, my advice to you is you saw what happened tonight with the other project.
Yep.
This is a very involved community. And they don't like change, as you. They don't like change that they don't understand, right? Now, it's up to them to educate themselves to a certain extent, but it's also up to us to have answers to all the questions that they may ask. Whether those are good questions, bad questions, there's no such thing as a bad question, it's just we need to answer them. So we're prepping both this board and we're prepping you guys to make sure that you cover the subject thoroughly. And the question you just asked, bus off the road versus bus still in a depot that starts to burn, they're two different things. The one about the bus burning in the depot or burning out of the road is very important, because that's significantly different than a diesel. Or at least the perception is it's gonna be significantly different. It burns hotter, it burns faster. I don't know what percentage of EVs versus, I'm not even going there with the math. You can play games with the math, You do know that 5 out of 4 people have problems with math, particularly accountants, right? They make numbers up. So I'm not even going there, what percentage of diesels versus, but we need to be prepared with lots of answers to lots of questions. And that's what you see us peppering you with tonight. Just to keep going with the maps, the area in the corner of the map where you have the big transformer that's gonna feed the 21 EV stations. That's right on 209, and then you have some subsidiary things going on then. That's the area where you normally dump your snow, so you're gonna have to find some other place to put the snow. And they need to identify on the plan where the snow is going, all right? Can't push it out onto 209, obviously. In addition to which, I'm sure that's high voltage. 250, 300 volts, something.
Yep.
You're gonna need to protect that from with concertina wire, I don't care, but you need to protect it that somebody doesn't go in there in any fashion. And you're also gonna need to beautify it, either with a nice stockade fence with plants in front of it, trees in front of it, something. So a combination of safety getting in there, as well as making it look halfway decent.
I think it probably makes sense to have bollards around it for traffic, because it's very close to.
Yeah, the bollards around the transformer.
Around the.
No, that's.
It's not on the map, so.
What's that?
It's not on the map, so I just wanted to.
Okay.
That I.
Well, that's not, these are not engineering designs.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, no.
But for our site plan review, we want to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, full engineering design has all of that material in it.
Right.
And what you're looking at may be closer to the full engineering design. As opposed to the map that I think we're referring to here. I have.
So the bollards need to be on all sides, because Peter mentioned.
I think we do bollards based on the code. That's there. Sometimes the code only requires where there's traffic, but there's no ability for a vehicle to hit it. There's not necessarily a requirement for a
Well,
bollard. We'll just have to look and see.
The traffic right on 209.
What's that?
You got traffic on 209. Lots of traffic. Huge vehicles, trucks, dump trucks. And then you have your own set of buses that I guess you're gonna want to protect those transformers from somebody backing into.
Well, yeah,
buses.
where the code requires, we do put the bollard.
Yeah. Well, we may go beyond the code if we think it's necessary.
Question, but he's been.
Go ahead.
Granted, it's right next to 209. I have a question about your power cube. Does it have any noise generation equipment, like a cooling fan?
It has a very small coolant fan in it,
Very small.
about that big.
In fast car, you have huge fans.
Right. No, it's just a ventilation fan.
My one question, it's a crazy question, I'm sorry. If they're in the event of a fire, do we need to be concerned about air quality? People being downwind, just because I am completely ignorant on, lithium fires, but that does come to mind. Luckily, there doesn't seem to, we're not in a heavily populated area, but would you?
Well,
would you think about air quality here and?
I think about it, I worked at EPA for 12 years.
So,
I think about air quality every single day. That's why we're doing this.
Right, I get that part, but.
So,
The combustion.
But so,
Air
any,
contamination.
any school bus, regardless of fuel type, right?
Mhm,
Is made up of a variety of different components.
mhm,
Most of those have some type of plastics,
mhm.
metals that if catch on fires, they will release. There will be
Right.
volatile organic compounds definitely released in any
Correct,
vehicle.
I'm just, but.
So we
specifically
will have those.
Batteries.
When it comes to the batteries, yeah, there are a few other contaminants of concern, and we can list those out.
And would our fire department need to know about those?
Yes, and that's a part of, they would approach it with their standard personal protective equipment regarding any vehicle fire. They would approach it under the same approach.
Thank you, I just.
Yeah.
Just.
Dave, you had done a whole write-up on the project. And you guys should have it. I don't know if you have it with you, but we jumped right into some obvious things we wanted to talk about. So before I have Dave go through some of the more mundane but very important items also, does anybody else on the board have things that they didn't see, want to know about?
Yeah,
in terms of safety?
Yeah, it would be great if we could have more detail about the buses. in the uploaded up. I would say, I'm not encouraging you to do a giant binder, Brian, but I think it'd be helpful for us to understand more about the buses. You know, I'm sure there's a brochure or a manual. I saw the fire safety and emergency responder guide, but I think that would be really a good thing for the public to know more about. Also the chargers, I saw Drive, you know, I think some of this stuff was maybe in the earlier application, but I don't remember, I don't remember any. So stuff about the charger, what type of charger, they are, you know, voltages, things like that. Have you guys done route mileages for the school district? Do we know that these buses be used on all the different routes?
Yeah, we did that, probably, kind of fresh, we did that at the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think there were a couple of different types of routes, I do believe, and Kevin hold me accountable here. Originally, we were at 25. And we had a few of these, and if you remember now, we've kind of revised that to say, I think I asked that question last time, the school would still up 25, we recognized 25 on this site, probably the non-starter, the school's still looking at different alternatives down the road, maybe for the other 5. But I believe when we went from 25 to 20, what we did was cross off the 5 longest routes, which makes it a little more efficient, but we did all that study. We have that, and yeah, I guess probably refresh it for coming to a new school year, but had them all mapped out per route.
Okay, so I know I just have a few words. I know it varies depending on time of year, weather and everything else, but what kind of range do you get on these in terms?
So these are the 315 kilowatt hour battery packs. On average, you're gonna see about 150 to 160 miles on them on a single charge. Colder weather will knock, you know, anywhere about 20% off of that. And again, when I talk about those 32 factors we evaluate, that's exactly what we look at, is we don't look at the average cold temperature. We look at the absolute coldest day that we will potentially operate, in the absolute hottest day we will potentially operate, and impact that, how that range will go into it.
Okay.
So those, and then terrain goes into it as well. Whole series of factors to make sure, because again, we have a responsibility. Even though we want to do this transition, our responsibility is to pick up the kids, get them safely to school, get them back home safely. We're gonna make sure that happens exactly with the EVs as it does with any of the fossil fuel units we operate as well.
I understand that. That's exactly the kind of important information would be good for us and the public to know.
Sure.
To know what are these going to be used on all the routes? These are questions that people are going to ask. You know, what is the range, so on and so forth. Did so 100 and I don't know what a school bus route is here, how long they are, but would it involve charging in the middle of the day? Would it go out and do? I think same school bus drives in front of my house for 2 different routes. Early, the bigger kids and then the smaller kids. So that 2 routes. So then would they go back and have to charge in order to do the afternoon route?
So, well, I don't know the exact specifics. Likely, we will put a midday charge with these units.
Okay, all right. And the charge time depends on what the capacity is, of course.
Depends what the stage of charge is when it pulls in.
And they're fast chargers,
These are DC fast chargers. I think they're averaging 30 kilowatts per bus. I think is what we're looking at on this.
Okay, and heat and air conditioning on the bus is provided by the batteries?
Yes.
There's no additional?
No, the heat is provided by an auxiliary fuel system.
Which is?
A small diesel tank that drives the heater.
Okay.
So that really helps us improve the range in these colder climates.
See, that's an important thing to note.
That's important.
Because these were presented up until this point that these are entirely electric, and the fact that there are diesel heaters on them is important for us to know. Because you use a lot, you can explain it however you want to explain it, but it significantly improves the range of the bus and the charge by not taking heat or air conditioning out of it.
But no, the air conditioner does work.
Okay,
Right.
another good thing to know. What is the weight versus for an EV versus diesel approximately?
I'll have to go back and look. It's significantly heavier.
I'm sorry?
It is heavier. The EV are definitely.
Yeah, no question. So have you guys checked the bridges in town?
Yes.
'Cause I know we have bridges in town that are questionable.
Yeah, no, we run all the state highway tests to make sure we're compliant with all state rules. Matter of fact, these buses can't operate in some states,
Okay,
where we try to use them because they're too heavy.
That's a good question, though. Did you check the local roads? I got a bridge down the
Yeah.
street from me and I don't know.
Are they listed on state highway maps with all of the?
well, there, a lot of
Go back
these
and
are,
double check.
some of these are town and some of them are county roads.
Yeah, we'll double check.
It's- You might want
The
to.
town puts all the roads in because you get aid. So if they're not doing that, it's stupid. But you get aid based on road mileage and bridge number.
Right.
So regardless of who owns the bridge or the road. It should, the town should, every public road should be. In
I have
the
a
state
bridge.
system.
Yeah, we'll just double check.
There are bridges that don't have weight limits. That are made of wood. There's one down the street for me, so you might want to take a look.
Does the school bus go over it on one of our routes?
Yes,
Okay.
yep.
Well,
double
it's
check.
long enough and
It's
those,
short.
no, I mean, the bus is long enough.
That's true, that's a good point. I like that.
The Commonwealth's all for-
Sorry,
If it's a short bus, you just speed up and go 60, you'll.
that's
A
true.
little ramp, maybe?
And then the last question for now is, I think we asked last time if you could give us referrals to other communities that have these, so we can. Just talk to some other people, do our due diligence on other communities. And just as a point, I did, while we're sitting here, I did Google school bus fires, and there were 4 that caught fire in Massachusetts last
But
year.
that was a low voltage fire.
I know, but you said there were no school bus
No,
fires.
no, I said there was no high voltage or battery related EV fire.
Okay,
There have been low voltage fires on EV school buses, not related to the battery system or the high voltage system at all.
okay, but it's an electric school bus that has lithium batteries on it, and
But
they
the
caught on
bat-
fire.
None of those situations in the batteries.
I know, but we have a situation where we have electric school buses with lithium batteries that are on fire, is what I'm saying.
Mhm.
What the cause of the fire is one thing, the fact that it is on fire is the lithium school bus, the lithium battery powered school bus is another thing, and that's the point.
Right.
I'm trying to, it's just a
Yep.
little,
All those fires were put out in less than 10 minutes.
Okay, we would need to know that, Kevin. You saw what happened tonight. We got some really smart people in addition to people that don't like change. What Peter just came up with battery, you said low voltage. We said there was no high voltage, there's only low voltage. Okay, but if we have to pull that information out of you, what the difference?
I thought it was pretty clear. I said there've been no high voltage or battery related. fires.
you have to stop 1 second. You're dealing with people,
Right.
including people in this room, that don't know that school buses have high voltage and low voltage.
Okay, fair enough.
I would recommend
So-
that you do your homework because otherwise you will have real problems with it.
What's the
Only with
difference?
school kid, but
In terms of
I
the-
really would make it very, very clear and very understandable for us. Because I actually understand a little bit what the difference is, but most people don't. So.
In
So
terms of
Brian,
public
I don't want to
safety-
see any of your staff playing with words, knowing what our community is like. And when I just saw high voltage was low voltage, it's correct technically, but it's a little bit of play on words.
Got it,
And you're gonna get your, pardon my French, you're gonna get your tit in a ringer.
Well, you got it, and I would tell you though,
Public meeting, Rick.
I know.
I would tell you though, like, I appreciate, I think what I know what you're trying to do is watch out for us, full disclosure, because maybe I'm overtired here and I got a 7-hour car ride after this, but the public conversation on this, we welcome that. Because I love the story. I would love to talk to the public on this every day of the week. Where I'm a little reclaimed is even today, I feel like we'll walk away, I feel like we're never gonna get there, I guess is my point. Like, I would love the public conversation.
We feel that we're never gonna get there either, because every meeting up to now has been what I call a fluff meeting. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, to be,
I gotta call you on that though.
Go ahead.
Like, some of the stuff you had, we went over 18 months ago. We're going back through it again. We'll go back. through it
18
again.
months with who? With
Bus details, charger details, like, I mean, we'll go
well,
back.
the application is up on Unicolab now, and it's not up there for the public to see.
Okay, that's
Okay.
fair. That's probably fair.
That is fair, and it's also, to be perfect, push back a little bit on that, Brian, is we did ask for this stuff 3 weeks ago, and we got the drawings and the safety plan this past week, Wednesday this past week. So we normally require 2 weeks before a meeting in order, so we have time to really go through stuff. And, I'm not asking stuff to be a pain in the butt, I'm asking stuff that I think the public is gonna be interested to know, and that I think we need to know. And I'm not, I'm not against this project. I'm trying to get to clarity and to deal with semantics about high voltage and low voltage, I find a little bit insulting.
It is.
So that's fair, and you've been nothing but forthcoming the whole time, so I don't want you to misread. I guess my only point was I welcome the public piece of this. That's we gotta figure out how to get there, and we have to do some things different. Feedback.
Yeah, 18 months ago was 18 months ago. And the time between 18 months and April 13th, when, as far as I'm concerned, that was the first time we had a official meeting on this with the new numbers and you guys being in compliance, 45 buses versus 20. April 13th is the first meeting. Everything that went on before that was bobbing and weaving in terms of how we're going to get this thing done. How many times did we meet?
Several.
How many? I don't want to justify what I said about. I'm trying to make this. We're trying to make this thing work, but we have to make it safe. But there's been a lot of recommendations we've made about how to handle this thing, and now you're finally here, and we'll move it forward. And how the board votes on it is how the board votes. The board votes on it. But the more information you give us, and the more transparent you are, and the less gamesmanship that we both play, the better off we're going to be. That's all.
Fair enough.
And just a quick tidbit. So we are moving forward as we do for every other site that we do, but in regards to the EV, like the information that we're providing you is like over and beyond what we have submitted to other towns and county. And I know that doesn't matter, but we're feeling our way through this as we speak as well.
That's
Just so
fair
we
enough.
get the right information into your all's hands that you need for us to serve our client the way that we know how to serve our client.
Fair enough.
hope
I think that, because you guys had the privilege of sitting through the previous session, you can see that even though stuff is up there, people don't necessarily get it. And you can expect the same situation here. So in a way, we are working in your interest to get this out there in information the public's had. The fact that, if you said we had bus information from 18 months ago, it's not visible to the public. And we need to have that stuff visible to the public and to us. So that's my whole point is, we're here working with you guys, but we need the information that, for us and the public to be public and put up there.
Well said, well said.
We understand that we ask a lot of questions. As you saw from the previous project, apparently we haven't asked enough questions, so but anyway. So, Hans?
One question I was very interested, the town of Rochester is very heavy. So I would assume that drastically will reduce kind of the range of your buses. Did you think about that? Or did you
Yeah,
take that?
topography's taken in, and uphill takes a toll, downhill adds it back.
Okay, so that's your.
The rigidity braking and downhill, you get power back, but actually, hilly terrains are not as impactful on range as much as like weather is.
The rest of the school buses will be diesel or what is?
So I think it's a couple things. I have an anecdote I want to come back to your story with. We talked this a little bit about where the future goes and mandates and all that stuff. So our approach right now would be to get these up and running. The remainder would still be diesel. Very openly, there's still an issue here. This idea of going all electric, there's about 50 different things that would ever have to happen across the state, right? For that to get there. So that's a future we'll let the other folks debate, but the remainder would be diesel. But to your initial point, just trying to add a little bit of humor here to catch myself. It is true, by the way, when we went through round one and we have multiple partners across the state that we submitted this for, and round one, if you remember me talking, this was fluff, by the way, right? I'll admit that. Round one was like a ping pong ball kind of lottery. And when Roundout gets selected, we were sitting there going, you could not have picked a more challenging hills and geography area for us. Now, we did the research, it's all gonna work, but to your point, we had other places where, Binghamton, Syracuse, you're driving around a block, it's square, it's flat, and when Roundout went, we're like, that's gonna be a little more interesting, but we have done all that work and we have.
And buses fly off the road in the winter all the time. So.
Yes.
It'll be a good case study for us.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
Well, keep in mind, we operate, 300 plus in Quebec, where it's routinely minus 20 degrees, and we've never missed a day for cold weather, we've never.
Are you providing services in the Albany area, specifically Bethlehem?
No, we are not in Bethlehem, although I believe Bethlehem does. Bethlehem may have some.
As somebody who grew up in Bethlehem, they.
Well, there was an article in the Times Union and the town of Bethlehem is not too happy with their.
Because they didn't hire us to help them do the.
Yeah, that's the best.
Their district is all, the district maintains their transportation. So the district purchases the buses. I was actually living up there when we started to purchase them. I remember I think it was new technology at the time, so there was. I think at this point, they've been on the road for a while, but it was early, even the bus tech that I canvassed.
I don't know, it just so happened there was an article in the Times Union about a month ago, or whatever.
Yeah, no, they didn't
send
send
it.
it. There have been school districts that have struggled, no doubt about it. But that's the difference with First Student. I lead a team that has 22 full-time employees. All we do is electric school buses. All this team does. That's backed up by another 25 up people. Part of the team as well, they're not full-time, but also dedicated to the electrification project. You will not find a school district or another contractor that has those internal capabilities. We got 5 full-time engineers on our staff.
Okay, one of the problems they indicated was long wait times for replacement parts and factory recalls
I think one of the things that has happened, and we saw it a little bit
Yeah.
as well, as the industry has figured this out, right? I see has this figured out. We again, full disclosure, some of our initial ones were with a company called Lion Bus, who was
Right.
kind of first in the trough and then bounced in, had a couple issues. So there had been a learning curve and we've gone through it. I think we're.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
buy.
and
you know what, guys?
Additional OEMs.
I believe everything you're saying. I want to get to, it's getting late. I want to get to Dave.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, sorry.
All right. The maintenance and all that, we can get into that at some other point in time, but it's a little bit far afield from our approval process.
Fair enough.
A little bit. Dave, you want to go quickly
Through
through?
Monday.
Yeah, the Monday.
I didn't say that.
Mike loves this stuff, Dave. Don't let him do it.
It's process, I guess that's mundane. So I'll list them and then we'll return to them.
Why don't you go through, listening tonight to what we talked about, the major items that are still gonna have to be done from a site plan point of view?
Okay. Well, you've got type D action under seeker,
We need to talk about that.
which we'll talk about. You have to refer it to the county planning board as per state law.
Right.
Which I'd recommend you do promptly. Referral to the town engineer, which you'll explain the situation, right? I've recommended a site visit for the board. I suggest you initiate Accord Fire District coordination officially.
Are we gonna go
I
back?
think it needs to be formal somehow.
I think we need to make a motion to refer to the,
Right, and I think what Jennifer said is appropriate. We could dance around these issues, but why don't we just make sure the fire district's connected with some of this documentation that you should provide, right?
Right. I agree. Keep going, Dave.
yeah.
There's additional documentation we need, that the lighting plan was recommended. The code's clear. Any new lighting has to comply. This board has also taken the position that existing lighting should come into compliance with dark sky requirements, which is in their code. It's straightforward. So that's a sheet with some details that I recommend they get. It is in the Aquifer Protection Overlay District. You're sitting on an aquifer. Arguably, it's not the ideal place for a bus hub. Literally. But it's there. It's been there for decades, right? The Mulligan family.
Correct.
Fuel tanks there that entire time, yeah.
Right, correct. So there are some arguments to be made that the electrification reduces the potential hazard, or at least changes it. But I've suggested to the board, their code requires that you need to document certain particular things, any hazardous waste management or as per defined in their code, which refers to a list that the state maintains. So if you're using any substances that are on that list, you either need to document to the board that you don't, provide an affidavit, I guess, right? Or it needs to be listed and explained how you handle those, which I assumed
Yeah, we handle.
includes fuel oil.
Yeah. We
I don't know that ever happened in the previous, and there's, what else? And they gotta schedule a public hearing. So those are the procedural requirements. Their code requires a public hearing for private service.
So let me go through, I think easy ones first. We want to set a site visit. So Stacy, would you talk to who? Brian?
Yeah, we'll,
Okay.
you could use me as the prime.
All right, let's do that. I'm gonna come back to the county referral. We need to make a referral to the fire district. Peter, do you think we have enough information yet, or do you want to see more in writing from these guys?
I
Would you
think we
recommend?
do need more, but I would get, well, I'll leave that up to you guys. If you're comfortable, you guys have met Pat and,
I think that's perfect for our next action plan to set a time up. I think for your feedback, let us go back and address some of the things you gave us today to make sure we're.
okay, so then when you have more stuff, do you want to submit it? Is that where you're?
So will that be submitted directly to you or
No.
will it be through the board?
It'll be from
to you?
the planning board to the fire district,
Okay,
because I'm here as a planning board member.
Right.
So.
So we'll do that
And Pat is
first
the-
and then set up a time.
Yeah, Pat is the decision maker, because
So get us the information and then we'll get it to Pat. And then if it's appropriate to have a meeting with the fire district, that'd be between. We'll have representation, but it'd be between you and the fire district.
Yeah, sounds
But I
good.
think the key thing is some of the things you heard tonight need more, need to get them that detailed information, the space between the buses. The plan for how to handle a bus, plan how to not have to worry about a fire because you have all these fail safes. All that kind of stuff needs to be documented and then. They come here and then we'll get it to the fire district. All right.
totally different scenario, but something that we commonly deal with here is you get a fire alarm, 2 o'clock in the morning, go to somebody's house, they're not a full-time resident or they're not home. And then we have to figure out, what do we do if we have a fire alarm inside a house? So we either, we can go in if we see a fire, of course, that's this question. So what you can't see, you don't know. And so we call police units to join us. And then we do force entry if we need to. So that kind of scenario in a residence is the same kind of thing, unless there's a key holder there. We're gonna have to figure out how to, we in the fire department will have to figure out how to get in and make an assessment of the situation.
yeah, I don't think we have a Knox box, but is that something that?
That could be a possibility.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
A Knox, it's called a Knox box. It's pretty much just a box for
With
the
a
fire
key.
department to. be
The
able to-
school has.
Okay.
Yeah, schools.
Yeah.
schools,
Just unfamiliar with that term.
Lighting plan, we already talked about that. We have
Yeah.
an additional sheet to the lighting plan,
That's
which
for
which
both
brings
ways.
up a question. Kevin, you mentioned that there's a difference between, you mentioned two different kinds of maps, engineering material as well versus the site plan. So what we're interested in is a site plan. All right, the engineering stuff is what we're going to give to our engineer to the extent that we're worried about looking at the electrical plans, all that. So,
And that's included in this package.
Yeah.
okay, so it could be all one package.
Yeah.
Okay, just different tear sheets, that's all.
Did that Dave Church's letter?
The county referral, do we have enough data to send this to the county?
Well, you're supposed to give them everything you require to make a decision.
I would say no.
I don't think we're, I don't
The
think.
problem
we're ready
is
for
you've
that.
got the 30-day. You lose a month.
And I've already reached out to the county for a gateway meeting. Is that what you're talking about?
No, it's two
Oh,
different
something
things.
different.
They're
Okay.
related.
Okay.
The county will, on request, consider a meeting. Particularly if there are multiple parties involved,
But this
School
is,
district, bus company.
Dave, I think we
planning board.
decided that we're not gonna do that. Go on to the county meeting.
Uh,
Forget about the county, go on to
They
the
request.
county referral.
The county referral, this board's treated by the county as an applicant. They have to send what they've received from you as their applicant to the county planner for review and comment. And this county, they vote on that through a county planning board. It's unique in New York State. that board only meets once a month. So you need to refer it, so
Right, but I have a question though, if we're waiting for information from them and we refer it to, when we refer it, do we tell them that we have asked for additional information?
When it's supposed to.
You want to give them everything at
So-
once. You want to give them everything at
They
once, so
don't,
So does it have to be a
basically, they're
complete
still not of a
application?
mind to go look at
Okay,
Unicolab, right?
Sorry?
So,
They don't go look for stuff.
no, I
They
just wanted to
look
know
at
if it
exactly
needs to
what
be
you give
complete.
them.
So
for instance,
Helena's
it's-
question was, do we need a complete application? The answer to that is yes. And we don't
Because
have
the application is, if we're waiting to receive information from them on safety, et cetera, there's no point in
we don't have a complete
referring
application.
it to the county.
What you-
The dilemma is, and some in a previous life done thousands of these reviews. You never have everything till you actually make.
All
the
right, so let's
decision.
talk about what we don't have, that
So-
we
so
believe
just-
that the county will need.
Just looking at this map or this page that I'm looking at here right here, which is C1. Which ideally would have the emergency isolation area, would ideally have bollards around this stuff. Would ideally not have the fence there or have a location of the fence. Giving that to the county, I think would be
It's not complete.
unacceptable.
Right. It's not
So
complete.
I would submit that we should get the stuff that you guys need to add to this. I would suggest that we get that as soon as early as, and then.
Well, they
basically,
respond to
county's
Dave's
not
letter.
ready
They
for
meet-
July then.
The planning
The
board
first
meets on the
Wednesday.
first, county planning board meets on the first Wednesdays of every month. They require materials be received at least 2 weeks
2 weeks ahead.
beforehand.
So at this point, you're looking
Yeah.
at July
Correct.
first, okay.
So you're not gonna make the June
The
meeting.
question is, is there a process between meetings? Where this planning board can say there's enough to be referred?
No,
They need it within a week. They'd have to submit it within a
Dave,
week.
It's a question.
the
I don't have
question,
an opinion about whether they can get it done.
I'm
or
gonna
not.
answer the question, because I think I've heard what the board has said. No, we're gonna give them everything on this project.
You're supposed
We
to give
don't
them
have
the
everything.
full statement, which means literally. Of course, as I understand the case law, everything you need to make your final decision.
I think it's everything you need to make a declaration of significance.
Well, yes, there's been those cases that we.
Okay, you know, so
Right.
that-
Have,
but
in my
it's got to be,
opinion,
Look, we don't have everything to make a decision. We're not sending it. You're not gonna make this in a week. The stuff that we've asked you for, you need to get it, you would need to get it to us in a week in order to give it to them in 2 weeks before their meeting in June. So this isn't gonna get to the county until July. It'd be nice if we could accommodate getting this up there to them, getting the information, but it's not complete.
Have you gotten a response on the gateway meeting or not?
I haven't followed back up with them,
Okay,
or they haven't responded back to my.
I mean, technically, they would need to receive what. Materials by a week from this Wednesday.
But isn't it too late for Gateway to?
Are you gonna get everything
No,
to us?
gateway meetings can be scheduled anytime.
Are you gonna get this information to us a week from Wednesday?
It's possible.
Yeah.
It's possible. There's not a lot of addition to make.
And you need a process of deciding it's good enough, Rick.
Right, I don't see it happening myself. I have been.
All right, hang on,
we get this,
I agree with you. I don't see a
Okay.
process, and the problem is, I'm not around.
I get that, but
Peter, would you, if we made a motion here to say if everything that we need for the county is to us by a week from this Monday, a week from this Wednesday, you take a look at it and make a decision and just send it up to the county.
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
Yeah, they will work with me on that. I would be comfortable with that. Yeah, I mean, we could potentially share it with everybody, right?
Yeah, I think,
For comment to people.
I know you want to get going. I
but
I think we're trying to
You have to
stick
get.
10
you have to
pounds
get
into
it
a,
By close of business that.
I think we're trying to stick
Well, you know what?
10 pounds into a 5-pound bag, but
wait, we are doing them a service by having you on the agenda today, right? Because the application came in last week. So we're already doing that. I don't know.
okay.
Well,
Mr.
the
Gordon, what-
issue for us is the EPA is gonna yank this money back. The longer we take, so I know you have no control over that, but I just need to point out that we asked for an extension on April 22nd, when our last extension ran out. They have not granted us one. We are to go back to them after this meeting and explain where we are in the situation. I am gonna have to tell them we're looking at a long time, from what I'm hearing, to get this done. And I expect the EPA at that point in time to say, you need to return the money.
Well, I have a comment to that, but these guys have heard it already. You could have been there if you had done what we suggested
What's
you
the-
to.
what's the
Wait a minute, Dave, I'm talking. You could have been there a long time ago had you gotten us what we wanted last year sometime. I know that's pretty snarky, but it's the reality. We can only respond to, if we send them stuff and they say you didn't give us everything that we need, where are we then? But if you want to try to do it, if you're okay with it, Peter, I'm fine. So I'll entertain a motion.
Can we make it the day before that Tuesday?
Give me a date.
Just the 19th instead of the 20th, because
We were like.
No, and that-
Right.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion that if by the 19th of May, Peter determines along with Dave Church that the information that we asked for is complete, that you're okay with sending it to the county.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yeah.
I won't even go through what I was gonna say before. Was it last month? We had the county executive sitting here in favor of this application, right? So if what we're worried is the county planning department or planning board deadline for 2 weeks before their meeting. My guess is that if it came in a few days later than we're suggesting, but still came in like even a week later, that it would then be up to the county administration to figure out whether they would bend their procedures a little bit to squeeze out the recommendations from the planning department for the planning board to consider on the first Wednesday in June. Otherwise, it's on Jen's administration. So
That would be for the applicant to figure out with the.
Yeah.
We will
So there's-
take that on. We will do our best to meet the 19th date. And if we don't, we will take on the responsibility to talk to Jen and the county.
But it changes the motion,
How does it change the motion?
because you were requiring it by the 19th to authorize our referral.
Reword the motion for me.
Well, you can still pass that motion and then, if we don't have it by the 19th, they've got to do their homework to talk to the county anyway.
But, have we authorized the referral
Let
then?
you guys.
Okay, how about same
How about we
motion?
go back to the same motion? Go ahead. What else, Dave? Go back to the same motion and
Unless, we've got a couple of contingencies now, so it's kind of interesting, but unless the county executive informs the board that they would accept the submittal at a later date.
all right, so the motion is assuming that the applicant can get us the information by the 19th of May, and Peter and Dave take a look at it. Furthermore, if in fact you can't get it to us by the 19th, you get it to us, and this doesn't sound like a legal motion, you pull whatever strings you have to pull.
No, the county,
No, I'm not changing it, Dave. I'll be here all night. Because it's gotta be legal. You pull whatever strings you have to pull to get this up there.
no. You asked me for a linguistic suggestion and I made one, stick with it and not editorialize.
So say it again.
Unless as a second contingency, unless the county executive informs the board's, the chair or the secretary of the board that they will accept the submittal at a later date.
Okay, I make the motion.
I second the motion.
I heard it come.
All in favor?
I,
Start twisting some arms. Okay,
When you twist the arm, you should, if she is not otherwise aware, inform the county executive that she would have to give us some sort of a letter saying that the county planning department will accept the referral at a later date than the 19th.
Okay.
Just let her know that. It's up to her to do it for us and for her to square it away with the planning department.
okay, the last thing that we have to do is the type 2. Dave in his
Type the action.
typing the action in his letter to us, he indicated that reading the code strictly, it's a type 2. which means that there's no seeker process to go through. I just want to remind the board as well as the applicant, that doesn't mean that there won't be a public hearing, doesn't mean that we won't be dealing with seeker issues. Special use with a site plan, with an amended site plan, which is what the building inspector said this project is. In a special use part of the code allows us to look at most of these issues anyway, whether it's traffic, environmental, whatever. But I just want to let the board know that our planner recommended that it be a type 2, according to Hoyle. I'm ambivalent because the special use part of the code allows us to do a deep dive into most of the things that need to be all the things that need to be looked at here, including the aquifer protection zone. Yes, we do want you to tell us, well, how are you going to protect that aquifer protection zone? Are you going to put down a layer of clay throughout the whole parking, whatever it may be? So what does the board want to do? We go forward with the type 2, which is legally what we're being told what we should do. I know Dave Gordon's thinking about if the board wanted to make this unlisted, he may be able to come up with something, but what does the board feel first? And then we'll.
I'm in support of it being type 2.
Okay.
Me too.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion, then that it be a type 2.
You make the motion, I'll
I'll
second.
make the motion.
Second.
All right.
Before we vote, can I hear Dave's argument for as part of the discussion, what is?
Well, first, I agree with the chair that I think we can get to all the environmental issues without it. I'd like to read the sections of the special use criteria to the board to make, so that you all agree on, because you have to make some, just leaps of judgment to you get there, because it's written very, very broadly. But I've just looked at it this evening, and I took a look at Dave's memo, and without casting any criticism of the memo or Dave's logic, I have to tell you that it pains me. Dave is relying on a clause in the type 2 list, which, given the nature of that clause and given sort of the momentum over the last number of years to just trash seeker jurisdiction, is really difficult. And basically the clause says, if you're reusing an existing, particularly commercial building, if you're reusing an existing commercial building, that's not going to have a significant adverse impact on the environment. It's type 2. That is actually and there's certain other aspects to it, but we'll just leave it at that. That is the exception that has just basically eaten up seeker, because a lot of things use the existing building. If you take an existing building that's used as a school and turn it into a factory, you're using an existing building. But that may be a little bit of an exaggeration, but the bottom line is, you have a whole host of seeker issues that could be involved in a particular project and an application that just get obviated because you're using the existing building. In this case, they're using the existing building, but the building is actually not even a part of what the action is. So it's not like the action's occurring in a particular building that you're reusing. Then the discussion here doesn't revolve around the building at all. And so I understand the concept. It's completely consistent with the way certainly developers, representatives, and most planning boards have looked at this for many, many years, going back even before seeker started to get trashed. But given sort of the enthusiasm by which everybody's trashing seeker now, when applied in this case, I can't say that I disagree in terms of what is happening, but this would be a case where I might want to stand up and say, this is so far beyond it, because we're not even talking about the building is the least of anything that's going on here. And that it often happens that the building is not directly involved in what the impacts would be, but at least it's involved in the action. And so, but the good news is, as the chair said, I'd like to read the section to you. Under the special use permit criteria, we can continue to do everything that we're doing. So not only doesn't it matter, it might streamline things, and I wouldn't even counsel standing in the way of it. I'm just venting because I think we're pretty far down the road in terms of beating the hell out of this law.
Is it the building or the site?
What the actual exemption is for reuse of an existing building, and usually with an expansion of the building less than a certain number of square feet, which used to be back in the day, 2,400 square feet, and now I think it's 4,000. So,
I was thinking the same as you. I mean, the land is essentially the same.
Yeah.
so
Why don't you read the site?
Choose also have language for replacement in kind, and while this isn't literally a replacement in kind, in my mind, it's very much.
now this is, I don't see how you consider this a replacement in kind when we're talking about not only a different, different technology, but one that is at the heart of the concern for impacts here. So I'm not sure I'm with you on that.
What about C3, which says retrofit of existing structure and its current areas to incorporate green infrastructure?
Okay.
Yeah.
I have,
There is the provisions about meeting those thresholds, like physical alteration of 10 acres, parking for 500 cars.
well, that tends to make something a type one action.
Makes the thresholds drop to 25% of the,
For a type one action.
well, at least makes it unlisted, right?
No,
No,
it takes an unlisted action, makes it type one.
I thought it'd make type 2 might make it unlisted in this case. But I'm just pointing out, but we come philosophically from different places. I always saw seeker as a supplement to your code. You're not here to do seeker reviews. You're here to review applications. Your code is very good on many environmental issues. I think everything that you brought up is covered in your code.
I think so too.
And I would point out, particularly to the applicant, section 14020. Just make sure you go through each of those items. That's the commercial and industrial standards. That's where they're getting the lighting plan. You have to meet near certain noise requirements.
Items, I think, right?
Yeah, correct. You ideally, you'd be able to articulate in writing, if not in front of an audience, how you are complying with those 6 items.
For the board's benefit, and at the chair's suggestion, let me just read a couple of the clauses for the special use permit criteria that the board has to apply in this case. And section A, the first one, is whether the proposed use will have a detrimental or positive impact on adjacent properties or on the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of the town of Rochester. Section C, 2 below it, is whether the use will have a positive or negative effect on the environment, job creation, the economy, housing availability, or open space preservation. So just starting with those 2, I think everything that the board is, I want to talk about a couple of things that we discussed tonight in an attorney session afterwards if we could. But in general, the questions that we're raising, I would like, if the board can observe that we fall within those 2, then you can declare this type 2 without any negative, just roll right through, because this basically defines environmental review similar to seeker in many ways.
Okay, all right, so that's what?
All right, so we had a motion. And
I'll make a motion.
we had a second. All in favor?
Hi.
Aye. All right, so it's got a type 2, which means there is no seeker process to go through.
You got town engineer.
The 140-20 that was mentioned, commercial and industrial standards, those set specific standards and a whole host of things. Signage, lighting, what Dave was just reading was the section, the special use section, which essentially in 3 or 4 points, he only read a few of them, says a special use has to be shown to have no impact on the community with respects to just about anything in other sections of the code. All right, so it's a broad statement.
These are criteria
of what you need to jump through in order to get the special use portion of the approval done. And then amended site plan applies to all these things that are in the industrial and commercial section of the code.
It's our criteria, specifically involve whether or not the environment, the local neighborhood and the local environment are going to be damaged. So that covers the seeker, basically covered. I mean, seeker would have a few more things, but the stuff we're talking about is basically right within there, in my opinion, as long as the board agrees, and that's where we're going to go. But we won't have to do neg deck or anything like that.
We took care of the type 2 thing. Dave, was there anything I missed?
Engineer.
Oh, all right, so a lot of the material you're gonna send us, we're gonna have checked by our engineering firm. Our engineering firm, CPL, you've met Greg, I think, Greg Mulder. The firm has indicated that they're gonna recuse themselves from this project, and they've done nothing but to just identify that they have a conflict. So I'm gonna leave it at that. So we're looking for another engineering firm to review all the engineering details. And I hope to have something within the next 2 weeks in terms of a firm that will just handle this project. I don't anticipate, we got a lot of hoops to jump through. They'll have some catching up to do. The firms that I'm thinking of know what they're doing. And unfortunately, CPL, late in the game, Thursday, Friday indicated they have a conflict.
Okay.
I'd rather find that out now than later on.
Appreciate that.
So I'm just letting the board know. And I don't know too much more than what I told you. And I don't want to know. I don't want to know what the conflict is. Okay, anything else? Well, this was easier than the previous.
I do think about it.
Yeah, go ahead.
The only thing is, where would the roads fall? Because we had the issues with bridges might not hold up debate. Is that something what the engineer would
The highway
do?
superintendent?
Yeah, that's highway. Not within its purview.
Just think the highway superintendent's got an inventory of bridges, so.
It's a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
Think so.
Yeah.
I think it's just something we need to look at.
Well,
It's
the
not,
state
it's not,
has
it's
a-
not for us to look at though, it's for us
No.
to do.
The state has requirements of gross vehicle weight that any vehicle must not exceed in order to operate in the state of New York. So they have certified the IC 315 kilowatt hour to operate in the state of New York.
That's not what we're talking about.
Okay.
We're talking about if there's a bridge over a creek that is not as good as the, the I-90 bridge over whatever river.
Right.
It's.
And whether that we're looking at a problem.
But typically,
Yeah.
from what I understand, typically the state role has county and local bridges within the state inventory.
Well, we should,
We'll go check, we can go.
we should check with our highway supervisor and give them.
I mean, we operate rural Montana with these exact same units and
But
they came through that the state weight met the requirements of the county in Montana.
It's like you know,
Where
that
we're
highway
operating.
bridge down the street
Yeah.
from my house.
Is there a name of what?
That's made by 4x4s, so.
Is there a specific name?
Better than a truck body.
Well,
Jenny,
it's
there's a
right-
Boston
we're thinking
Road.
of putting an EV on
It's
it.
right by my house, my kids go over it.
What road?
Sundown Road.
And you let your kids go.
When I moved in, I didn't
Now it gets used
this
by
thing.
We have, if you guys can provide us with the weight of the buses.
Sure.
The some, or two different sizes.
Two different sizes?
No, if there are two different sizes.
No, we're just using the one.
Okay, so if we can just stipulate that to the referral to the highway supervisor by, yeah, with and without students, I guess is the.
Well, we generally go with, we have to get approved for gross, which includes students.
Okay, so we should just identify that for the highway supervisor, so he knows he's dealing with not a school bus, but a heavier school bus.
Yeah.
I have one question about the existing location. Are you guys gonna continue to use that as service for diesel buses? Okay, so there still will be fluids and fuel tanks there.
Correct.
So you,
When you do service them, are they on soil or are they on a concrete pad?
Inside the garage.
Inside the garage.
so that's just for servicing and not storing. You're not going beyond the 20 buses.
No, they just come in, they work on, they go back either to the other location or the school.
And no electric service there per se.
Say
In
that again?
terms of if something happens, an EV bus needs to be repaired. Does that happen there?
Yes.
We would do everything and the
Because-
process is, what we start out with, Peter, is we start out with getting vendor support on anything related to the
Yeah.
electrical components. And then we build our own capability through training until our folks take it over. But to start, we would do the repairs, but it's just a.
Yeah, so the bus is under warranty. So for the first 2 to 3 years. IC comes in and maintains the bus. If they can't fix it at our facility, they take it to their facility.
Okay,
During that time, we train our techs, so you have to have level 1, level 2, level 3 training in order to work on the bus. What we do is get our techs to level 3 by the time the warranty runs out, so they can conduct all levels of maintenance on the bus.
okay. And will there be batteries stored there? Battery
Outside of the
modules-
bus,
Modules,
outside of the bus,
yeah, outside the bus.
no. Now, 20 years from now. Yeah, we might.
Well, that's important for us to know, because we're giving you a site plan approval potentially for this.
Okay, no, we'll put that in there.
So,
Yeah, we'll.
I mean, because earlier, in an earlier part.
If it's gonna be a problem, I'll drop it out, but we could reduce their utility bill. If you
Again,
actually the
it
batteries
goes,
on site.
it goes back to what we need to know, right?
Right.
And earlier in the application, we were told, at this board, we were told that there was not gonna be any work done on electric buses. That was said at one of the earlier meetings, that there will be no repairs that would go back to the manufacturer. So I just want to be clear about this. If there's gonna be batteries and things stored there, we should know about it.
No batteries.
Yeah, well, I'll just make an executive decision. Just gonna slow this thing down. No, we won't do it.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna make sure we put conditions in the
Yeah.
approval.
I mean, just so you know, though, that's gonna impact the school district. Because eventually, the plan is, we take this, the batteries expire from a transportation life expectancy. Which is 12 to 13 years. We pull those out. Put them in another container on top of the existing container. Charge them, they still got to charge, they just can't move a bus. That reduces the energy consumption, the fuel bill that the school district receives. When we do this life expectancy, we're an 80-year-old company. We're thinking long term. And so we want to do things that benefits our customers. So we have batteries on those buses that still have economic and useful life that we would like to use for our customers. But if it means I gotta go through 60 extra hoops.
Well, no, I mean, listen,
We'll-
at this
we'll
point, and
You can always apply for amended site plan approval if we get to a point where we need to look at that and the technologies
well,
where we need. to
But that,
be.
yeah, okay,
ways.
we can do that.
The door's open.
Anything else from the board?
No.
Does the board want to summarize where they're at with this and what they heard tonight? I will have, and what I heard tonight was a hell of a lot more than was what I wanted to hear in terms of the safety plan. We just need to start documenting this stuff. And it reassures me more than any other meeting we've had. So I'm glad you had your engineer or non-engineer engineer. You said you didn't have an engineering.
No, I'm not
degree,
an engineer.
but you seem to know an awful lot about it. So it was good that you had your non-engineer engineer here. And he should be here at every other meeting because you heard the questions tonight. All right.
I do have one more question for Kevin.
Mhm.
The run from the power cube or the transformer, wherever it's coming from, to the charging stations, those are gonna be they're not going below ground, they're going above ground, but in some sort of.
Let me in conduit.
In conduit.
Yeah.
And, okay, those are protected back from okay.
Yep.
And then each charger has the charging cable
Yeah.
that goes to the bus. Do the buses have charging ports on both sides?
No,
Just on one side?
we just do one.
Do you happen to know, does the emergency power plug that we use for EVs, does that work on these buses? It's a shut off, it plugs into the power plug.
I'll have to find out for sure.
If you can find out, that would be a
Question.
really important thing to put in the fire department information.
Do you use CCS? I mean, it's a CCS standard connection.
Yeah, it's one that they make for to shut down the power on EVs.
Okay, I'm pretty sure, but I don't want to guarantee.
Okay, yeah, no, just if you could just include that in your
Peter, it's just
information to the fire department. that
a
would be-
plug-in that turns the whole thing off.
Yeah,
Anything else, Peter?
no, it's.
Anybody else?
Right, I just wanted to do a thank you, my voice is going. Seriously, I whispered to both these guys, when we were watching you have fun with the previous project, I said, I don't know how you do what you do. And we realized we've thrown a bunch of curveballs at you, and it's been a long process, and frankly, we're just trying to juggle. Keeping the EPA off, taking care of our customer, figuring out what we need to do for you, and there's a few things today you pointed out that you probably could have been further ahead of and say this some time for that, but we do really appreciate.
We're
that.
flexible. I mean, you have me on tape saying something. I don't know what I said.
Well, if you don't mind, he might mind a little bit, but we're okay.
We were
But honestly, thank
we were so fat on tonight that we're rude.
So are we able to make the June 8th date? I know previously you said earlier tonight that June has pretty much filled. but I don't know if you were just.
Well, let me pose this, can I ask a question? Assuming that you get the information in, that it goes to the county,
Yeah.
we would not have information back from the county by our meeting, correct?
That's correct.
No, they, no, the first
Oh,
Wednesday.
actually, they could get it.
It's possible.
Yeah.
It's
The whole
possible.
point would
Then
be,
that we're having a short timeline for review again.
the whole point would be to get the county to evaluate this and give a recommendation at the first Wednesday. Which has to be which is gonna be earlier than June 8th by definition.
June third is their meeting.
So that's when, so that would be what, if this gets done as we're contemplating, the county will have its recommendation published on June 3rd. Oh, June 4th.
Before, okay. That's very tight, as Helena mentioned for our meeting.
I don't think it's realistic for me to promise June 8th.
So it was back to June.
June
29.
20.
You have two meetings?
29.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, is the public meeting a part of
I think
the
so.
next meeting, or do we have to schedule in another public?
No, I look at the June 29th
June
statement.
29.
I look at that meeting as being. We'll certainly have the county information available to us. You'll get all this other information to us, the write-ups. The redone plans, completely marked up, lighting plan, the whole 9 yards.
I think his question was when we'd have the public hearing.
So June 29th would be a catch-up meeting for all of us to go through all the information, and we could set the meeting, the public hearing meeting at the 29th. And that would be for the first meeting of July, which would be
13.
13.
Because that, all the information that's going to the county would actually be posted, this is a question. Would be posted to Municalab.
It should be.
Yeah, so that means that the public would have access to all that information at that time on the 19th.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would further that if Dave and I are gonna review it. If you guys see it and don't see anything, sing out.
Yeah.
You know,
Or send an email alerting us. Well, basically.
So it sounds like you guys got a lot of work, but it sounds like you're gonna be okay for the county meeting. You may have to pull some strings. Okay, using a technical term. And then so the 29th, we would review everything at this board to make sure that everybody's happy with setting a public hearing. And that would be the first meeting of July. It might be one public hearing. My prediction is gonna be at least two.
So is that another month later that second public hearing would occur?
The second one.
The reason I ask, I'm trying to paint a picture for EPA what our timeline looks like.
There's only one July meeting.
There's only one July meeting,
There's only one July meeting.
so no, that would go to August what,
10.
10th, 8th.
oh no, sorry.
And then what happens after August 8th? Can you approve it on August 8th, assuming?
Public
comment?
hearing, the second public hearing, it's possible that we would need another one. If we don't, then we close the public hearing. We don't have to worry about any seeker steps. So sometime in August, late August at the next meeting, although I think we only have.
There's only
meeting
one
in
August.
That would go to September. We could have a decision by September.
If there are two publics.
If there's two public meetings.
And what's the trigger for two public? Again, I'm just trying, EPA is gonna ask me these questions.
You
Yeah, I know, I got it. So what triggers a second?
You're gonna have two public hearings. I can predict it. I mean, does anybody think there won't be?
A vote on the first public hearing?
Sorry,
Is there any way to force a vote on the first public hearing?
for you to force?
After the first public hearing?
After or at?
We could vote on the,
After or at?
After the public hearing, have the application meeting right after the public hearing and.
vote on
you
it?
guys vote, like in August.
No chance in it.
No chance. Okay.
Well, what if there's no public comment?
Yeah. If nobody's here from the public,
Yes.
we'll write the here now.
Can't answer, yeah, we can't. We have to stick with the
I
process.
don't think we're gonna decide anything right now, but given what we heard earlier about people not knowing about the public hearing. The school may want to send out notices, because we're only obligated for the people around, and there's not, it's like a church and. a field.
From the garage.
So nobody's gonna get notified
Right, and
of this, and everybody's kids are on these buses, and if we hold a public hearing and close it. And the public doesn't find out about it.
that would be a.
Okay, no, yes.
And it's not just the town of Rochester,
Oh, true, yes, true.
town of Marbletown, it's a
Which is
school
why-
district.
Right, sure.
So the
So-
school district, I would
It's
strongly recommend that they.
three different
I'll take
townships.
that back to the superintendent, I'll hash that out, yeah, I think it makes sense.
We have to.
You may wanna, the Shawangunk, the young lady you saw over there is from the Shawangunk.
Yeah.
They're pretty good, and then you have the Bluestone. If Paul Spadaro can get a hold of the newspapers and just begin to talk up how well tonight went, quote unquote, and or what the next steps are likely to be, we gave you an idea what it was gonna be. A lot of the public that's interested in many of these events, read both those newspapers, you have the Bluestone and you have the Shawangunk. So that's something he could do.
I don't want to speak on behalf of First Student, but is there any possibility the board would consider a public hearing at the late meeting in June? If assuming First Student provides you with all of the, the design sets and the documents that you need for the county referral, I don't know if that would allow you guys to potentially open that public hearing and meeting sooner, just to potentially have a timeline.
There's always a possibility, but I'm telling you that it's not gonna.
Yeah,
be done
sure, but
public
just
hearing. There's always a possibility, but let's just go through it again. We're getting this to the county for their first meeting in June, right? We have a meeting on June 8th.
Sure.
Let me see what the June 8th looks like. If I can get you on there, fine,
Sure.
but much beyond 10 o'clock,
Oh, no, sure, and I
this
think
board
maybe at the
becomes
June
fairly
meeting,
useful, not useless, but we get tired
Sure, and maybe at that meeting, it's just a motion to schedule the public hearing for these
for the
guys
second meeting of
For
June.
that second meeting in June.
There's always a possibility.
It's all we can ask for, right?
Or the first meeting in July.
Best bet though is get to the newspapers.
Sure, oh yeah, we have,
If you want to get the public involved. Have contact Bluestone, let them know what, First Student is doing for the town of Rochester and how you're complying with CPCLA or.
yeah, no, absolutely, we've been broadcasting it at our Board of Education meetings, and all that, pushing it out, so we can make that push on our end.
Do we have to refer, because, Pauline asked this question, because it is, it's a school district, but it's in the town of Rochester, do we have to refer to town of Marbletown, town of Warsing at all?
It's a physical thing it's not physically
Yeah.
Okay. Cause the site.
contiguous to or part of Marbletown.
It's not a zoning thing. You have to, you
Yeah,
have to refer,
it's-
like a.
Would it be a thoughtful thing? Perhaps.
Yeah.
How about the state DOT since it's 209?
DOT, well, you're not gonna do anything in the state right away?
I don't think so.
You're gonna move an entrance? I didn't see anything.
And we'll,
If they don't need a work permit, the DOT's not involved.
I'm thinking about that power cube. How far off is that power cube? If it was me, I would check that.
Yeah, I believed it was designed and engineered to be off of the right of way.
Is it a surveyed right away or?
Again, that would come up in the permitting process of pulling the electrical permits. For.
Well, you can't do work it's state
Right.
property.
Yeah, no,
You can't work on their property without permission.
I'm pretty sure we've already, our
Okay.
engineers have already.
That would be the work permit.
Check that.
Good counsel.
I think we've had similar issues. You're right, Peter, right? That some of these older commercial properties bleed into the state right of way.
Oh,
Yeah.
Quite a ways, in fact, in some of them, right?
yeah.
You should just make sure that you're well out of the state.
Rid of that.
Yes, please.
Whose chime was that?
I was gonna fall asleep.
That's my 10 o'clock time for bed.
I just want to say, I think
The
we've done
kitchen
some of our
just
best work.
closed. I just have one question. Why haven't I ever heard it before?
Because I'm
Because I turned it off. Look, what I heard tonight was very encouraging.
Thank you, Craig. We got some more.
You got some work to do. We'll move it along.
As quickly
As far as setting something on June 8th, if we can get you on the agenda for June 8th, it's possible that we could set the public hearing.
Would the applicant need to be here on June 8th for you guys to set the public
It's
hearing?
just a motion.
Well,
Then you have to hear.
if we have you on the agenda for the 8th, then maybe they should be here in case we have questions.
Sure, just a question.
Absolutely.
So stay in contact. Let us know how close you're getting to getting this material to people. If you're not gonna make it, just let us know. If you are gonna make it, let us know. If you know you're not gonna make it, but you think you can work something out with the county exec and Paul. We leave that to you.
And you're out next week, is that right? Or-
I'm out for 3 weeks, but I'll have my computer. And
He's
they
on
do have
vacation.
they do have internet out in Wyoming and Montana.
They have electric schools.
Not in Wyoming, the British, but not in Wyoming.
They even
Wyoming's
have
the only
elec-
state that doesn't have an electric.
There's
supply.
one road that there are no poles, no electric poles for like 60 miles. And the one that's the same road that says, there's a sign that says. Absolutely no services for the next 60 miles, ... we're not kidding. Something to that effect, something like that. Anyway. I can be reached.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you again for your time.
Thank you, guys.
That's all. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna go into executive into.
Motion to. Close the meeting, then we're gonna vote.
I'll entertain a motion to close the meeting.
I make the motion.
I
Jennifer
second it.
and